Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to True Crime Metrix, another episode of Katherine Magbanua's Big Mess as we walk our way through the slow walk through her second trial. Very important job. Somebody's got to do it. You know, we're going to do a bit of a repeat episode today because we've got first on the witness stand Wendy Adelson, everyone's favorite lying scumbag, on the witness stand with her use and derivative use immunity. Wouldn't she love to have diplomatic immunity with those special license plates? I'm surprised she doesn't work for an embassy or something, you know. Something corrupt. Yes, that would suit her just fine. I wonder if Wendy Adelson watched our special Metrix video of her mother thrown into the back of a van, carted off to Tallahassee, where she remains to this day in Leon County Detention Center, solitary confinement, preparing for her trial. But able to get some sleep, though, without all those inmates walking around her narrow ear canals, stomping on those canals like a narrow boat. Yeah, well, we do have a little bit of an issue today. I was just changing a few things around, and for some reason, the chat, it's stuck. It's stuck big. So we do have it, but, you know, look at the size of it. I can't resize it for some reason. I've just been doing a Google about it before the show, and I can't find how to fix it. Oh, no. So I don't know if we're going to have comments on the screen today, guys. Think you can handle that? We'll have them back tomorrow, you know. Don't worry about it. We'll do what we can. Anyway, let's have a look at what we have from Wendy Jill. Jilly Will. Jendy Will. Where is she? Let's crack on. Welcome everybody in chat. Spacey Dove, Mr. Pinto Peabody, Neverly Darling, Amy A, Pearl Orlowska, Deb H, the fantastic Deb H. We've even got an old friend in chat today. Well, we did have at the beginning. Where's she gone? Back to chase a bear around her garden, no doubt. So, hide this puppy, play this puppy. Let's go. Nice dress.
Okay, Ms. Adelson, if you come to the witness stand, please. Before you have a seat, we're going to swear you in. Please raise your right hand and respond to the clerk.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Please have a seat. Ms. Kappelman.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please introduce yourself and spell your name.
My name is Wendi Adelson.
Oh, by the way, we did fix something else because we got informed today that in the bottom right corner of the screen we had a double logo. And I thought that might happen, but I'm unable to check. Anyway, I think I've rectified that issue. But now we have a chat issue. It's just ironing out issues every day, isn't it? Bit by bit by bit. We're getting there.
WendiAdelson.
Ms. Adelson, where do you currently...
But please do, someone let me know if the audio is at a good level, and let me know if the lip sync is synced or sank.
I currently live in Miami Beach.
And are you here today pursuant to a state subpoena?
Yes, I am.
And do all state subpoenas confer immunity?
I don't know if all state subpoenas confer immunity, but this one does.
Okay, and do you believe that your subpoena is special or different from other state subpoenas?
I don't believe it's special or different, so I suppose they all carry immunity.
All right, and does the immunity conferred upon you by the subpoena mean that you can never be prosecuted and associated with this case?
That's right.
That's what you think it means?
That's what I think it means.
Okay. And do you think, isn't it true that it's use and derivative use immunity? Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. But not complete immunity from prosecution. Do you agree with that?
That's different than what you just asked before. So I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
All right. So what I'm trying to allow the jury to understand is what sort of immunity you have. What is your understanding of what it means for you to have immunity pursuant to the state's subpoena?
So I have derivative and use immunity. And so in the future, a prosecutor couldn't use what I say here today against me.
Correct. But you could be prosecuted. Just nothing you said here today could be used against you in that prosecution. Do you agree with that?
I suppose so.
Okay. Have you made any sort of special deal with the state attorney's office or with any law enforcement or government agent?
No.
Yeah. The only deal I made was with Lucifer. Does that count? He's not part of a government agent. Well, he might be. He might be. Which government agency would Lucifer work for? The Department of... Well... It's probably got a secret name, hasn't it, really?
All right. Was there a time that you lived in Tallahassee?
Yes, I used to live in Tallahassee.
What was the time frame that you lived here?
I was here for about 8 years. I lived here my last year of law school, so the academic year.
8 beautiful years. 8 beautiful, muddy, dusty years. Swampy 8 years.
05, 06. We were in Miami for 06, 07.
Oh yeah, check that out, guys. We can't zoom in, but that is totally whose forehead wrinkles start at the top quarter of your forehead. Did they not have enough? They just injected it like locally. Just do around the eye sockets, please. Yeah, you need a top up, Wendy. Get some injections.
And then I would have been back 2007 to 2014.
Speak to Dr. Oped, the dermatologist. June knows who he is.
All right. And what brought you back to Tallahassee after you returned to Miami after law school?
Well, I went to Tallahassee to finish law school. Mm-hmm. And then we went to Miami because Danny had a job opportunity at University of Miami. Okay. It didn't come to fruition. He was not hired. And so we came back to Florida State.
And so your husband had a job opportunity here at Florida State?
Yes.
Okay. And that's what brought you to Tallahassee?
That's what brought us here.
And you also had a job opportunity at Florida State. Is that right?
That's right.
What was that job?
I worked at the FSU Center for Human Rights. And at first I was a staff attorney.
Yeah, I conned my way in. I conned my way in. I went in, I said, where is the boss? And then I went and spoke with the boss. And I did my little nervous smile, my charming eye smile. And then he gave me a job. But it wasn't quite as good a job as my husband.
I used to represent victims of violent crime, asylum seekers, and victims of human trafficking. And then I taught various classes at FSU Law School.
That's an unusual role, right, for the perpetrator of a violent crime.
And then I ran something called a medical legal partnership.
And how long did you do that?
I was working at FSU for 7 years.
All right. So basically the whole time you were here in Tallahassee.
Wendy, it's 7 glorious years. 7 glorious, swampy years.
I wasn't a student. I was working for FSU.
All right. When did you meet Dan Markel?
Danny and I met first online, and we met when I was starting my 2L year of law school. So that would have been 04, fall of 2004.
And when were the two of you married?
We were married in February 2006.
Do you have any children in common?
We have 2 children.
All right, both boys?
Both boys.
All right. During the time that you moved to Tallahassee, the second time to work here at Florida State, were you living with Dr. Markel the entire time as a married couple?
I'm sorry, Dr. Markel?
I'm sorry, Mr. Markel, Dan Markel, your husband.
Were we living as a married couple when we returned to Tallahassee?
Yes.
Yes. So by that point, we returned in August maybe of '06. So we got married in February of '06. So we've been married 6 months by then.
And the entire time that you were living as a married couple, was that at the Trescott address that we've seen photos of earlier?
Yeah.
No, we lived...
That was the time when we were nauseatingly referring to each other as Mr. and Mrs. Bear. When we had guests, when we had company over, we would dance around the kitchen and say, "Hello, Mr. Bear." And he would say, "Hello, Mrs. Bear." And we made all our friends sick.
First in a rented house. I actually don't remember what neighborhood it was now. It's been a while. But we lived there until we bought our house. So maybe 6 months in the other location. I don't remember exactly how long.
All right. Do you remember what year you moved into the Trescott address?
We moved into the Trescott address. Maybe, I don't remember exactly what year. Probably... It would have been 2008 or 2009. It was before my older son was born.
Right. And you were living there he was living there in 2014 when this murder occurred, correct?
He was living there in 2014.
And you were no longer living there.
I stopped living there in 2012.
In 2012, was there a separation first before a divorce, or?
Yes, there was a separation.
When was the separation effective?
September.
Welcome back, Law Bell V. Always nice to see you in chat.
2012.
And whose decision was it to separate?
It was my decision.
And was part of the reason for the separation differing views on how your children should be raised within the Jewish faith?
I mean, that's certainly part of it, but not really a central decision. It was more just our relationship overall. I mean, Danny certainly wasn't, we were on different pages when it came to religion, but I wouldn't say that was...
And that's what I'm specifically inquiring about, was that part of it? So I think your answer is yes, that was part of it.
Sure.
Okay, you are both Jewish, correct?
Yes.
All right, and both of you did agree to raise the children within the Jewish faith? Is that
we did,
correct?
and we have.
Okay, so what were the differences between the two of you on that front?
Probably in the observance of keeping kosher. So I don't keep kosher, and Danny did, and that became difficult to do in Tallahassee and difficult.
Yeah. We did agree to raise the boys within the Jewish faith, but, you know, Danny actually meant that, and I just wanted to do the bat mitzvah and stuff to get the presents and to, you know, meet important people.
To deal with differing beliefs around that.
Can you explain for the jurors what keeping kosher means?
Sure. It's a separation of milk from meat. So you couldn't have a cheeseburger, for example, right? You couldn't have milk with a meat product. And the meat has to be killed in a ritual specific way that's been blessed by a rabbi. And you're not supposed to eat shellfish of any kind, so no seafood.
Hey, Michelle.
And there's a lot more rules, but those are just some high level ones.
All right, and was it very important to your husband that the children be raised on a kosher diet?
It was.
It was, yes.
All right, and that was something that was not important to you?
It's not a question of it not being important to me. It just started to supersede other things that are important, like love and trust.
Okay. Did that diet seem impractical to you?
At times it was complicated. I mean, there was one particular time I had taken the boys to a picnic for one of my clients for one of her children. And my older son had pizza, and Danny was very, very upset about this. He was maybe 1 at the time, but it was...
Who gives pizza to a 1-year-old child? Am I crazy? I mean, that just seems like, you know, what does he like? Extra spicy? you know, pack it with jalapenos, please.
It was pizza that wasn't kosher, and so that became challenging.
All right. So this was something that sort of came up as an issue during the course of the marriage.
It did.
All right. And other things as well. I don't mean to suggest.
Any parents in the chat, I'm honestly asking, and it's okay if the answer is yes, I'm curious, would you give pizza to a 1-year-old child?
Yeah, it was based solely on the children's diets, but that was something that is going to come up later, and I wanted to make sure the jurors understood what was meant by kosher diet. All right. Did you move out of the marital home when you separated?
I did.
And where did you go to live when you left the marital home?
I rented a house, and I went to that house.
All right. Was that at the Aqua Ridge residence?
Yes, it was.
Does 3303 Aqua Ridge sound right?
That sounds right.
Okay. And that location is here in Leon County, right?
It is.
Okay. As well as the trust.
Hey, thanks so much, Golfer Girl, for the super chat. You're welcome. But I can't put it on screen, because look what happens when I put it on screen. It's all big. It's all big, and we can't make it smaller. Isn't that terrible? We'll get it sorted tomorrow, guys. We've been doing some tests, and I just ran out of time to make that smaller. I don't know. We'll have to live without it for tonight, I think. So that'll be best.
They're both in Leon County.
About how far apart are those two residences?
I think it used to take about 15, 20 minutes to drive, depending on traffic.
How long after you moved out of the home did you file for divorce?
I actually don't remember the answer to that. I'm assuming I would have filed for divorce right away.
Within a month sound about right?
That sounds about right.
Okay. I'm going to show you Exhibit 59 and ask you to take a look at the exhibit.
Of course, pizza is only the second favourite meal of the 1-year-old. Obviously, if he had his own choice, it would be a 48-ounce ribeye steak.
I do not expect you to look at every page of this exhibit.
Well done, as well. And he loves to suck the marrow out of the bone at the end, right?
But I think you had an opportunity to look at this exhibit previously a little bit, right?
I don't have any memory of that.
Okay. So this is the first time you've ever seen this exhibit?
It's the first time I remember. It's
All right,
very
I'll just
big.
Take a look and kind of just thumb through it. I again don't expect you to familiarize yourself with every page.
It's
Yeah, Christina, I just had this kind of image of a 1-year-old child sitting in a stroller, with a huge box with an extra large double cheese, stuffed crust, spicy sausage, all to himself. No need to cut it into slices. He just rolls it up like a giant cigar.
Adelson,
Keeps him busy.
you can look through it as much as needed to answer
Well, that
this
was
question.
She had a question. What was your question?
it looks like it's about 800 pages long. So you want me to look
I want
through
you to
it?
look through it as much as is needed to answer the following question. Does it appear to be a fair and accurate copy of your divorce file?
I mean, from the front page, sure.
Okay. Thumb through it a little bit and just see if there's any reason to dispute that that's your complete divorce file from the clerk's office. It's certified if you want to take a look at the certification.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so I want you to take a look, if you would, at the petition that is on State's Exhibit 59, pages 1 through 5.
The one right on top?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All the pages should be numbered through, so I'm referring to 1 through 5 on the bottom right corner there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that was your petition for divorce, correct?
Yes.
And so would you agree that this was a contentious divorce?
I think it was made much more difficult by Danny, who didn't want to get divorced, but sure, we can call it contentious.
Not what we would classify as an amicable divorce. You hear about those.
No, it would be not an amicable divorce.
All right. And part of what you were seeking in your divorce in these documents in front of you was permission.
Hey, Wendy, just a reminder here, right? You seem to have forgotten what has brought us to this room today with those 12 members over there in the jury booth, right? I mean, it seems to have like slipped your mind, the whole kind of concept of what's going on here. Let me explain it to you, Wendy. The woman over there, Katherine Magbanua, your brother's ex-girlfriend, is charged with murdering the father of your children, yeah? And you've been brought here as a witness to testify in her prosecution, so that, you know, justice for your children's murdered father can be obtained. What is the word? Realized. Justice can be realized for your children's murdered father. Yeah, that's why we're here. So the smiles and the kind of, you know, doughish demeanor on the stand, it's a little bit peculiar, you know, makes it kind of seem like you don't give a shit about the concept of what's going on here. Yeah, makes it seem like that you're worried about something. The way you thumbed through that 800-page divorce file, took a look at the certification, and what's going on, Wendy? What is going on, Wendy?
To move with your children to South Florida. Is that correct?
That was part of the overall divorce proceedings.
All right, and specifically on pages 43 through 50, there's a petition to include a request to be allowed to relocate with minor children. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And why were you seeking to move to South Florida?
I was seeking a place that would be stable and permanent for the kids and me. Danny never planned on staying in Tallahassee. It was just a question of time before he moved to New York to be with his girlfriend or had dreams of being at Harvard. So Tallahassee was just a temporary stopping point.
The way she says that, right? Yeah, he had dreams, pipe dreams of being at Harvard, would you believe it? Like that would ever happen. That's the way that she says it. She's like, yeah, he had these ridiculous dreams of being at Harvard, so, you know, he's a fantasist. Why aren't you at Harvard, Wendy?
I wanted a place that was permanent for us, where we had family support.
And why did South Florida seem like a place of permanence to you?
Right. I mean, because we had family support.
Yeah, we wanted a place of, you know, permanence and a place of family support, you know, but, we also wanted a place with exclusive restaurants, marinas, jet skis, and, you know, sushi restaurants on every corner. Okay, Tallahassee, you know, sure, my parents are rich and wealthy and they could have moved up here easily in a heartbeat if they really, you know, needed to support me. But we looked at Miami, and then we looked at Tallahassee, and we decided that it needed to be Miami.
Because I work in immigration, there were a lot of career opportunities for me there.
Are you from South Florida?
I am.
Okay, and when you say family support, what family resided there?
My mother, father, and brother.
Was the relocation to South Florida the most important part of your divorce?
No.
Was it your most non-negotiable term?
No.
Okay. But it was very important to you?
I wouldn't say it was very important to me.
Was it very important to your mother?
She was much more looking forward to having her daughter and her grandchildren home. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, fuck.
If you would take a look for me at page 46, paragraph E. Just read that to yourself and let me know when you've had an opportunity to read that.
I read the first paragraph by E. Do you want me to read the second one?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And in those paragraphs, Ms. Adelson, are you alleging that Mr. Markel has created a hostile work environment for you at the Florida State University College of Law?
He did during a period of time.
All right, and was disparaging you to your colleagues? And if you'll take a look at pages beginning on 79, the document beginning on 79. And the question is this Mr. Markel's 23-page response to your motion to relocate?
You're asking me, is this
his response to your motion to relocate?
Yes, it looks like it.
All right. That's quite verbose. Would you agree with that?
I imagine it is. At some point, Danny fired or alienated all of his attorneys and started doing his own legal work. So
fair to say he was adamantly opposed to you taking his kids to South Florida.
Yes, he shared all of that here, which is different than the conversations we had. But
that's what he filed.
What he filed is what the judge sanctioned him for.
All
yes.
Right. And in that filing, I'm specifically referencing to page 82, where Markel states that the sole stated reason the wife seeks to relocate with the party's minor children is so she can be closer to her parents. My understanding is you don't agree that's why you wanted to move.
It wasn't the sole reason why I wanted to move.
But you do agree it was a reason.
It was absolutely a reason. I wanted to create some stability for my kids, and having family around helps have a more stable environment.
Is it fair to say that your mother, Donna Adelson, was following these divorce proceedings pretty closely?
She was definitely being a little bit over involved. Yeah.
She was pretty invested in your personal life. Is that fair to say?
She is one of those moms, yes.
All right. And we talked about your mom, Donna Adelson. Who's your father?
What is my father's name?
Mm-hmm.
Harvey Adelson.
And where do Donna and Harvey live currently?
They live in Miami.
All right. And are you still very close with your parents?
I am.
All right. And do you still live in close proximity to your parents?
I live about a 15-minute drive away.
And where did they live at the time that Dan Markel was killed?
They lived in Coral Springs, Florida.
And were you close with your mom back around the time that you were living in Tallahassee?
I was.
And did she have a close relationship with your children as well?
She did.
Are your parents employed?
Right now, they are both retired.
What about back in 2014?
In 2014, they were both employed.
How were they employed then?
Then my father had a dental practice, and my mom was managing his practice.
What's the name of the dental practice?
Dr. Harvey Adelson, DDS.
All right. Does Adelson Institute ring a bell as well?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know whether the practice there was successful, meaning lucrative?
At one point it was, and
what about
not
between,
anymore.
What about between 2013 and 2016? Was it lucrative at that time?
Between 2013 and 2016, it was definitely.
Lobel V says to Nan, the issue with the hearing is whether they can bring in the book stuff to impeach her credibility as a witness. The immunity she has deals with the parameters of the state charging her. I think it's a little bit more than that, Lobel V. It speaks to motive. The book, as the state claims, is semi-autobiographical, and it's set in a quote-unquote fictional town, but with a name that sounds an awful lot like Tallahassee, Hiawassee Springs. And she hates the character in the book, Lily, hates living there. What does she call it? A small stop on the way to what we had previously known as civilization, meaning Miami. It speaks to how Wendy felt about living in Tallahassee, the disdain that she had while she's up on the stand saying, I did like living in Tallahassee. I was happy at my job, blah, blah, blah. I'd made a life, But obviously, her credibility as a witness with those statements would be undermined. But the reason she's trying to portray herself in this way of someone that was adjusted to living in Tallahassee and had made a life is to show that there was not this desperate need and hatred for living there, that she had to get out and was stuck there. That's another phrase that comes up, right? Stuck in Tallahassee unless something happened to Markel, right? So it's more than just impeaching her credibility as a witness. It actually speaks to motive. The state will be able to show, And then the defense is claiming that because she wrote the book was published in 2011, before the divorce, before the motions for relocation were petitioned or denied, and then denied. The defense argues that it doesn't matter if she hated the Tallahassee because that was ages ago, and maybe she grew to love it over time. It's a really weak argument that they're putting forward. I'm surprised they're even bothering. Just posturing to the jury, posturing to the judge, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I think it's more about showing motive for Donna to have this extra reason of needing to get Wendy out of Tallahassee.
The business was doing better than it did after that point when the social media brought.
Oh, thank you for the super sticker, Amy A. Thank you, Amy. And coffees, guys. You know what? I can't put the bloody coffee link up, the coffee alert thing up. But don't worry, because we are still accepting coffees at buymeacoffee.com/True Crime Metrix. And I'm just going to have to keep an eye on the dashboard on this other window to thank you, whoever wants to send us coffee. So don't worry, yeah. But tomorrow we're going to be completely back to normal with these adjustments.
Referring to this case?
Absolutely.
Okay. But previous to the murder, the Adelson Institute was earning approximately $2 million in profit each year.
I have no idea what it was earning. I haven't the slightest idea, but
do you know whether your parents had other investments other than their work at the Adelson Institute?
I don't know.
You don't know if they own any properties?
Motive is a basis to impeach. So I think we're talking past each other. Motive is a basis to impeach. Or is it, you can impeach something that's not motive, can't you? You're the lawyer. As some of you may have noticed, I am not a lawyer or a doctor. Ho! What was that? Thank you, Pinto, for the coffees on buymeacoffee.com. Thank you so much, Sally.
I know now that they own properties, but I didn't then.
Okay, and do you know now that they owned properties then?
I actually don't know when they acquired the properties, so I don't know.
All right, was your divorce impacting your family financially? So this is prior to the murder and the
It was certainly impacting me financially, but I don't think it was impacting the rest of my family.
All right, how many lawyers did you have in your divorce?
I had one, and then Danny accused her of ethical violations and stealing money, and so I had to hire a new attorney.
Yeah, I had one lawyer, but then my one lawyer wanted to bring his two friend lawyers, and my family paid the bill.
I think he had 3 or 4.
No, I was talking about you. So you had two.
I had one, and then I had to get another. Yes.
All right. And who paid for those two attorneys?
I did.
Did your mom retire from the dental practice during the time of your divorce to facilitate her spending more time with the children?
No, she didn't retire from the dental practice. She did help me during the divorce and help me.
Okay, so we're learning something. I'm learning something from Law Bill V here. You can impeach for incapacity as another example. Incapacity. I'm trying to put that through my brain. Incapacity. Let's look it up. Let's get a definition. Impeachment is a process by which a legislative body or other legally constituted tribunal initiates charges against a public official. Oh, this is... Okay. Well, I guess I've got some nighttime reading to do later. We can't go through all this now. Czech Republic. We don't need to know about the Czech Republic. Not today, anyway. Maybe in the future. Who knows?
They were very small. But she didn't retire. She just worked for my dad, so it was okay if she took a leave of absence here and there.
All right. Did you discuss your marital problems and the resulting legal issues with your mother?
I'm sure I did.
Is it fair to say your mother is a controlling person?
I think my mom is...
Yeah, think of impeachment. Think of impeachment as the basis why the person is not credible. Yeah. But I'm saying that the book. The reason that the state wants it in isn't solely to impeach Wendy. You know, you could use the book to show motive without impeaching Wendy. The book would be a useful piece of evidence even if Wendy wasn't called as a witness at all. So, you know, I get the feeling that there's two elements to it. There's the impeachment of Wendy, which is lent to the motive also, but you could also use the book to show motive on its own without impeaching Wendy, without even having Wendy at the trial. So there's like, you know, it's a little bit of a funny issue.
And very invested in my life. I don't think of her as a controlling person.
Is it fair to say around the time of your divorce that your mom did not like Dan Markel?
I think that's fair to say. I think she was very disappointed by the way he treated me.
In fact, she despised him, didn't she?
I can't speak to how my mom felt or whether she despised him. I think she was very disappointed.
She sent you some emails to indicate her feelings about Dan Markel around that time, didn't she?
She did.
I'm going to show you what I've marked as State's Exhibit 63. Back to this, but we can
Ms. Kappelman, do you want me to read it?
No, ma'am. Just take a look at those and tell me if you can authenticate them as emails that were sent to you from your mother.
I can authenticate them.
All right. So the donnaharvey@gmail.com is your parents' shared email address. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, but these emails were coming from your mother based on the context. Is that right? Not your dad.
Thanks so much for the super sticker, Anne Trower. Or Trower. Thank you, Anne.
I imagine they probably represented both of their feelings. They've been married 51 years, so sometimes my mom speaks for my dad.
Okay.
All right, so there's one, I believe it's on top there, dated May 3rd, 2013. Was that about 3 months before your divorce was finalized?
My memory is that our divorce was finalized in June 2013. So
Okay.
wouldn't that just be 1 month before?
I had July 31st, so
Okay.
whatever is your memories.
So, okay, this was May and our divorce was finalized in July then.
Just want to talk a little bit about the emails that are in front of you there. So on that first email dated May 3rd, 2013, page 1 of 5, in the second real paragraph, does your mother indicate that the most important
Objection.
part of your divorce is
Objection.
relocation?
Hold on a second, Ms. Kappelman.
I don't believe this item is in evidence, Your Honor.
The items have not been admitted into evidence at this point, Ms. Kappelman.
Correct.
All right, so I don't want you reading from them if they haven't been admitted into evidence.
All right. Ms. Adelson, did your mother indicate to you that to her the most important part of your divorce is relocation?
Your Honor, objection.
That's sustained.
Okay, Judge, at this time, I would ask to approach.
Sidebar, the witness.
Sidebar.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Your Honor.
And we're skipping. Wendy's moments of quiet. Steve Nick says, you don't see many emails from Wendy to Donna. Yeah, right. I mean, why would she put any of that on record? Let Donna put it all on record.
All right, Ms. Adelson, what was the most important part of your divorce to your mother?
You're asking in reference to the email or not in reference to the email?
Not in reference to the email.
So just in general, what
Yes.
for her, it was probably for me to be safe and be in a stable situation with the boys.
Okay, would
So
it refresh your
relocation,
recollection
then.
to take a look at the emails in front of you, State's Exhibit?
Yeah, read the word that's in bold, in caps. Relocation.
Are marked as State's Exhibit 63.
If I look at it, she's saying
Hold on
here,
a second. Just review
Just,
it, okay?
If you'd read to yourself about the first half of that second real paragraph.
Just review it to yourself, and then Ms. Kappelman will ask you another question.
okay,
All right, does that refresh your recollection about what your mother felt was the most important non-negotiable term of your divorce?
it does.
Okay, and what was that?
That was relocation.
And did your mother, I think you said she was very unhappy with him. Did you agree that she despised him?
I can't speak to whether my mom despised him or didn't. She was very, very disappointed with the way he treated me.
Okay. And did she ever call him names?
I don't remember her calling him names.
Would it refresh your recollection to take a look at the emails for that?
I'm happy to.
Okay. If you'll take a look at page 1, about halfway down, just read those few sentences there, and then I will draw your attention to page 2 when you're ready. Actually, you know what? For refreshing purposes, I'm going to approach with my copy. I'm just going to kind of draw your attention to the items highlighted in green. If you'll just look at those to yourself and then flip through and look for those items highlighted in green.
Okay. Do you want me to do the whole thing?
No, go through and just to yourself look at the items.
It's a lot to expect from me to say. Proper refreshment. I know. I don't want to act like we're not sure. We're not sure. Yeah, recognize.
Okay.
Did your mom ever refer to your husband as an asshole,
Yes.
a bully,
Yes.
a zealot,
A religious zealot. Yes.
a jackass,
Yes.
a religious extremist?
Yes.
What about gibbers? She calls him gibbers?
Yeah, Tibbers is not a bad name.
Yeah,
was,
yeah. No, the bad names are asshole, fucker, zealot, extremist. But then we switched and we did the nice name, the friendly name, Jibbers. You know, when we gave him the banana bread, we said, "Hey, Jibbers, we made you some Jibbers bread of this bananas." But you know, at other times it's asshole, fucker, zealot, extremist.
Silly name that I came up with during a period of time.
Silly name.
I felt incredibly terrorized by Danny. And so it was a word that I would use to kind of make him seem less scary.
Is it fair to say that it was a derogatory term?
No.
Okay, but you came up with it directly in relation to him terrorizing you.
I did.
Georgina Biggs says we've got low audio, so we have to turn that up. So let's have a look at these levels.
It was a way to take.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How about that? Is that better, Georgina? Is that about level with the video? Yeah. Please, everybody in chat, tell me that early on. I don't mind messing with the dials. We always want to have the microphone equal with the stream video. That's the best viewing experience, right? Hey, thanks so much, Evan, for the super chat. Relocation in the name of is the name of the game. Relocate to prison. Exactly, right? Ironically, back in Tallahassee.
The team out of a situation I found scary. I wouldn't say it was derogatory. I just think it was.
And when you say scary, are you alleging physical abuse?
I'm not alleging physical abuse.
All right. What types of things did your mother suggest that you could do to try to coerce or acquire the ability to relocate your kids to Miami?
She suggested that I could change the religion.
Of who?
Of my children.
And why would that affect the relocation effort?
Because religion was so important to Danny that would be a real hot button thing.
Okay. And did she ever suggest?
Acapella says, out of curiosity, has it ever been confirmed by medical professionals that Donna was actually suffering from benzo withdrawal during her 400-mile police van ride? I believe that she was suffering from withdrawal, but the withdrawal that she was suffering from was the withdrawal of her true dependent drugs, which is control and the only alternative to her dramatic fucking episode was for her to completely submit, relinquish all control. Is anybody surprised that that didn't happen? She clawed on and squeezed every ounce possible to control that situation in the small way that she could, taking advantage of the health and well-being policies of the agency that was transferring her. I'm going to stall this journey. I'm going to get EMS out here. I'm going to get them to put me on a stretcher and take my blood pressure and fuck around. Even though these guys, these two amazingly compassionate, friendly black guys who were just so kind to her. It was amazing, wasn't it? I think that's probably the kindest anybody has ever been to Donna in her life. Genuinely kind, right? They're doing that all in one trip. They left at like 3:30 a.m. and they drove down to Miami. They picked her up, and when they dropped her off at Leon County, it was 12:30. That is a 21-hour day, right? And it wasn't made any shorter by Donna fucking around. And if there was some, withdrawal from the drugs, it may be, but it was fucking amped up, like way, way over the top, and specifically for the purpose of garnering sympathy, care, and treatment. Let's go to the doctor page. Where did I see that? Give me a second here. So, benzodiazepine withdrawal syndrome. Physiological dependence on benzodiazepines is accompanied by a withdrawal syndrome, which is typically characterized by sleep disturbance, irritability, increased tension and anxiety, panic attacks, hand tremor, sweating, difficulty in concentration, dry retching and nausea, some weight loss, palpitations, headache, muscular pain and stiffness, and a host of perceptual changes. Instances are also reported within the high dosage category of more serious developments such as seizures and psychotic reactions. Withdrawal from normal dosage benzodiazepine treatment can result in a number of symptomatic patterns. The most common is a short-lived rebound anxiety and insomnia, coming on within 1 to 4 days of discontinuation. Depending on the half-life of the particular drug, the second pattern is the full-blown withdrawal syndrome, usually lasting 10 to 14 days. Finally, a third pattern may represent the return of anxiety symptoms, which then persist until some form of treatment is instituted. Physiological dependence on benzodiazepines can occur following prolonged treatment with therapeutic doses, but it is not clear what proportion of patients are likely to experience a withdrawal syndrome. It is also unknown to what extent the risk of physiological dependence is dependent upon a minimum duration of exposure or dosage of these drugs. Withdrawal phenomena appear to be more severe following withdrawal from high doses or short-acting benzodiazepines. Dependence on alcohol or other sedatives may increase the risk of benzodiazepine dependence, but it has proved difficult to demonstrate unequivocally differences in the relative abuse potential of individual benzodiazepines. So quite a list of symptoms, huh? And fairly, she had a number of those going on. And I think she's certainly in the high dosage category. Take a pill. Make dad take a pill. Take another pill. So yeah, but she definitely took the opportunity to amp up whatever it was that she was experiencing. And here they say the most common is the short-lived rebound anxiety coming on within 1 to 4 days of discontinuation. So she went into Miami-Dade, sheriff's office jail on the 13th of November, and the ride was on the 20th. So she was in there for a week already before this whole thing in the van happened. And apparently she wasn't having, the Marissa Descalzo went on and on about how the medical, assessors in Miami-Dade gave her the all clear. So I would suspect that she was not having this huge withdrawal situation going on while at the jail for a week. It just happened to come on during the 8-9 hour drive to Tallahassee in the back of an uncomfortable van with no windows, sitting on a hard seat. I think, maybe that whole situation accentuated the anxiety and then triggered more of an acute reaction to the withdrawal. If I'm being very kind. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm just kind of guessing my way through. I'm not here to confirm what a medical professional would say. I'm not a medical professional. But I'm just sharing my own thought process. Yeah, but whatever it was, she amped it up to make the situation work for her. Maybe she was expecting Harvey to be following the van and thought, if I get myself into a hospital, maybe I can slip out when the doctor's gone to get me a pill. I'll just slip out and then Harvey will be waiting. Oh, that'd be a good end to the movie. I think we just got a coffee. Let's have a look. Matthew K. Back again, Matthew K., who became a lifetime member and has just bought us 5 coffees on buymeacoffee.com. Thanks so much, Matthew, and thank you so much for becoming a lifetime member yesterday. That really helps us out, helps the channel out and everything. So thank you, Matthew.
Jess, you could bribe your husband to allow the relocation.
She did.
And how much money did she suggest that she and the family would be willing to put up for such a bribe?
So I just saw the bribe reference, but I didn't see the amount. If you want to show me.
I will refresh you on that. In just a moment to find it myself.
Overruled.
Portion, let me know if that refreshes.
what was really telling to me, sorry to interrupt again, but who said that? Who was that comment? Someone just said something about the Jane Creasman. The EMT in blue kept saying there's nothing wrong with her if she read her lips correctly. Oh no, I believe there was nothing wrong with her. And something that was telling to me is when she was holding her hands in that position and she said to one of the deputies transporting her, "My hands, they're frozen in this position." And then he touched them and said, they're very warm. And Donna went to the effort to explain and clarify that she didn't mean frozen as in the temperature, but the stuck in the position. All right? And that's a tell. If you're in a fucking serious situation of anxiety, it is less important for you to clarify a mistake. If you're trying to pull the wool over someone's eyes, it's very important. So you can justify and not act like you just got caught in a lie. If you're really in a crisis, stuff like that doesn't matter. Yeah? You know, there's a macrocosm of the situation there that I think you see what I mean. Like if I say, my hands, they're frozen in this position, and the guy touches my hand and says, well, they're really warm, and I'm really in crisis, I'm not going to give a fuck. I'm just going to be focusing on my problem, right? But to come out of the problem enough to go, no, that's not what I meant. I didn't mean frozen in temperature. I meant stuck in this position. I'm working hard to convince you and to not have you think that I'm bullshitting you, right? If that's a priority for me, I may not be in a medical crisis. You see what I mean? It's a tell. It's a good old-fashioned liar's tell.
Okay.
How much money was your family willing to put up to bribe Dan Markel to let you move to Miami for 6?
They said that they would go as high as $1 million, which would be $333,000 each.
And who are the each?
My mom, my dad, and Charlie.
Did Charlie, you mentioned he also lived in South Florida. Was he employed at the family dental practice?
He worked there sometimes.
And what type of work did he do?
He is a periodontist, so he would sometimes do implants or surgery for people.
God, that'd be great, Evan, if Harvey was driving a 1963 Thunderbird. Mint green. Convertible. Off a cliff, you know? Just Donna and Harvey do the end of Thelma and Louise. Harvey Keitel is running at the car through the Arizona... Well, not Arizona. Is it Arizona? It's the fucking Grand Canyon, isn't it? Of course it's Arizona. Yeah. Yeah. I bet he'd love that.
Did your motion for relocation get granted or denied by the court?
It was denied by the court.
So you were not legally permitted to move to Miami?
No.
Did you have an alternative? You mentioned previously that there was a hostile work environment at Florida State University as a result of your husband. Or your ex-husband at this point, was the failure to be able to relocate, did that cause you to remain in that environment?
It did.
For how long?
I don't remember the date that the petition to relocate was denied. If you could show me the binder, I could
find the date.
And
I'll draw you to pages 262 and 263.
In the binder? Oh. Okay, so the order was on June, no, what's the date is? It was June 20th, 2013. So I was still working at the law school through July 2014. So I stayed for one more year.
Okay. And it was subsequent to his death that you were able to find new employment that was in a less hostile work environment. Is that accurate?
I mean, eventually after his death, I found new employment. It took me a little while.
Okay. How long did you stay in Tallahassee after your husband was killed? Ex-husband, sorry.
Stayed a couple of days. And then after I had asked.
Acapella says, some dude in the comments under your Donna Ride video insisted 11 times that it was benzo withdrawal, and if it were an undeniable fact coming from the medical community. Well, I'd wager that Donna Adelson is very familiar with what the appropriate symptoms are. You know, and perhaps she was, I mean, I'm sure she was anxious and uncomfortable. But, you know, Donna Adelson had a choice, and the choice was completely submit to the situation, relinquish all control. We know that she's just not the kind of person to do that. What was was it a necklace that she gave to Wendy with an engraving that said, never, ever, 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 ever give up? I mean, you know, it's like, she's just not, she takes it all the way, and she'll bash through just to, if she successfully postpones that road trip for half an hour, and gets the EMS out there, and gets in a stretcher, and gets her blood pressure taken, and gets assessed, that's a huge win to Donna. Just in her sense of, I'm running things, right? That is a huge win, compared with just sitting quietly in the back and not having a fucking huge big deal. She will want to do that. And not to escape, and I'm sure she wouldn't have minded being given some drugs, but she probably realized that it was unlikely that they were going to give her some fucking good drug. Yeah, people say, oh, it's drug-seeking behavior. Well, I think it was drug-seeking behavior, but Donna's main drug is control, right?
Police for protection at the funeral or in my home, and they refused. I decided to just go for a couple of days and spend a few days away from Tallahassee. And then this case hit CNN and hit the media, and I didn't.
I don't mean to
safe.
interrupt you, but the question was, how long did you stay in Tallahassee after your husband was killed?
I'm sorry, Ms. Kappelman. I stayed.
That's a good point, Michelle. So her parents were going to put in $666,000.
A few days.
Thank you. All right. So how did your mom take the news that you were not going to be able to relocate?
She was very upset.
One moment, please. right. I want to talk a little bit about the litigation that continued after your divorce was final. Was there a motion to enforce the marital settlement agreement and hold Dan Markel in contempt of court filed by you?
Yes.
And a few months later, did he respond with a counter motion to enforce the marital settlement agreement's final provisions, alleging some violations that he said you made on the marital settlement agreement?
Yes.
And these filings are pretty venomous. Is that a fair characterization?
Not on my part.
Well, on both your parts, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And he accuses you of various things, lying about your financial affidavit and things like that. Would you agree?
He does make those accusations. They were completely baseless, but yes.
All right. And let's see. Oh, did in the pleadings, is the tennis racket mentioned as something to fight over? And I can draw your attention to that page in line if you need it.
I imagine it could have been. You can draw my attention if you like, and I can confirm.
Okay, but no reason to argue about the fact that a tennis racket is mentioned specifically in your divorce documents.
I mean, that sounds like some of the nonsense that we argued over, sure.
Okay. And was there a motion? I want to draw your attention specifically to this motion. It's on page 441 of that document in front of you, Exhibit 59. This motion was filed by Dan Markel on March 26th of 2014, so shortly before his death.
I see it.
Okay, what was that motion?
Former husband's counter motion for enforcement of MSA on parenting issues and motion for contempt and sanctions.
And in that motion, did he allege that you were violating the marital settlement agreement in a variety of ways?
Yes, it looks like he did.
Including failing to facilitate communication between he and the boys, failing to keep him informed of where his kids are, failure to communicate about parenting decisions like the kids' schooling, diet, and extracurricular activities, things like that.
Yes, that looks right.
Right. And was he, as part of this motion, seeking to enjoin you from allowing your mother to have time with the children that was unsupervised by another adult?
I am not seeing that right now, but I can continue reading through it.
Okay, take your time.
Actually, oh wait, still going.
Is this a question that you need refreshing on? Did your husband make these allegations? You don't have an independent recollection of that?
I don't have an independent recollection.
Okay.
He made a lot of allegations that weren't true, so I need to look through to figure out which ones we're talking about.
Okay.
Okay, I see it. I see what you're referencing.
All right, so in that filing, Dan Markel alleges that your mother is disparaging him to the children, correct?
That is correct.
And he was seeking a court order saying she couldn't have contact with the kids unless there was another adult present, correct?
I see that here. I don't think I took it seriously at the time, so it didn't really lodge in my memory.
Did your mom take it seriously?
No.
Was it ever ruled on?
If it were, it should be here, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it here?
No, it's not. It was scheduled to be ruled on in August of 2014, right?
I don't know. I don't know when it was scheduled for. I do know that nobody took it very seriously.
Okay, so your mom wasn't worried about that motion being granted. Okay.
Yeah, we definitely didn't
Talk
kill him.
a little bit about your brother. You
prevent
can
that motion
just
being
sort of
ruled on.
close that binder and leave it in front of you. How old is your brother, Charlie Adelson?
45.
Is he your older or younger brother?
I have two older brothers. One of the two older brothers.
Are you closer to one more than the other?
Yes.
Which one are, and has that always been the case, or just since this case?
No, I think when we were kids, I was his brother, and then after getting to be an adult myself, I was probably closer to my middle brother.
Around the time of 2013 and 2014 to Charlie.
I would say so.
And of any connection at any time between your brother and
He did, yeah.
okay, what else?
I don't know of anything else.
Okay. And do you know where he got the drugs from that he used?
I don't.
Okay. Was he a recreational marijuana user or was he a drug dealer?
I would say he was a recreational marijuana user.
Every day or just occasionally?
I don't know how often. I don't know if it was every day, but I do know a few years has led him to do some self-medicating.
Okay, but I'm really speaking of the time frame. I should have clarified 2013 to 2014.
I don't know if he was using any drugs during that time.
The pain of the last few years has led him to self-medicate. Yeah, we have the wiretaps with the bonsai trees, Wendy. Bearing in mind, he's been arrested at this point. He's in jail. Wendy knows that, obviously.
Went to the incidents that we're here about today?
That's right.
Okay. Were you aware that your brother, I think you testified he sometimes worked at the Adelson Institute. What did you mean by that? Where else does he work?
So he is a periodontist, and he has kind of a traveling practice of sorts. So he would work in various doctors' offices throughout Broward, Dade, and Palm Beach counties. And so sometimes he would work from my dad's practice, but sometimes he would work from different offices. I don't know how often he worked at which one. I just know he worked at various offices.
All right. So I asked you, I'm sorry to change topics on you so much, but previously we were talking about your two brothers. Is your other brother, not Charlie, but your other brother, is he located here in Florida?
He is not.
All right. And back in 2014, was he living in another state?
He lived in Gainesville for a while. I'm trying to remember in 2014 if he was in Gainesville. I don't think so. I think he was in another state.
All right. So been in another state throughout the incidents we're here about today.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. All right. Now back to what we were talking about with your brother Charlie's practice. So he travels around to different dentist offices and performs a specific service, like on a contract basis.
Marcus, welcome back.
All right. And are you aware that he does that type of work or offers a discount for that type of work if his customer is paying cash?
I'm not aware of that.
Are you aware of your brother carrying large amounts of cash?
He did sometimes carry more cash than I would, but not like big sums of cash, no.
Did you observe the cash that he carried to be stapled together in packs?
No, I never saw staples.
Has your brother ever been married?
No.
How would you describe the kind of lifestyle your brother was enjoying back around the time of these incidents, 2013, 2014?
I think he lived a bachelor lifestyle, very different than mine. Would enjoy nice restaurants, had lots of girlfriends.
Not a lot of responsibilities.
Not a lot of responsibilities.
A lot of girlfriends.
You say not a lot of?
A lot of different girlfriends.
Always a different girl, yeah.
Who is Jerome Obed?
He is a person who used to live with my brother.
Do you know the time frame that he lived with your brother?
I remember I introduced him to his current wife, and that was maybe 2011.
Yeah, and that information is pertinent to what? That you're a fucking matchmaker. Just wandering around. She's like Cupid shooting bow and arrows of love hearts all over Miami. I introduced him to his current wife, and they're very happy. Did I mention that my parents have been married for 51 years? They're super happy and in love. Oh. Kofsky. Amy. Thank you so much for the coffees, Amy. 3 coffees on buymeacoffee.com. Thank you, Amy.
Maybe during the period, I don't know how much, I can tell you he was living with them that year, but I don't know for how long before or how long after they lived together. They were friends, though.
Oh, so okay, so you can't tell us whether he was living with your brother in the 2013-2014 timeframe that we're here about.
I don't remember.
Okay. And is Mr. Obed also a doctor, a dentist?
He is a dermatologist.
Dermatology, thank you. All right, and your brother, we were talking about his lifestyle and the girlfriends. Does he also drive fancy cars?
He does.
Including a Ferrari?
Yes.
All right. And were you aware of his...
That's someone in the courtroom coughing, guys. That's not me. I try to mute the button if press the mute if I cough. That guy was in the courtroom. Look, I'll prove it. No, don't worry about it.
One of his girlfriends by the name of Katherine Magbanua.
Yes.
Did you ever have the opportunity to meet that particular girlfriend?
Yes. We met maybe 2 or 3 times.
2 or 3 times? Do you recall what the occasions were?
There was one time we had dinner when I was in town, which is what I did every time I'd come to town and have dinner with my brother and a different girl. And then one time I went to the beach for an hour or so, and she and a friend of hers joined us.
Okay. And was there a third time?
I don't actually remember a third time.
All right. So was there anything special about this girlfriend in terms of her relationship with your brother? Did they seem closer or more serious?
It didn't seem serious.
Were you off-put by...
Hey, thanks so much, Kyle, for the coffee on buymeacoffee.com/True Crime Metrics. Thank you, Kyle.
Ms. Magbanua for any reason? Did she seem like different from the ordinary trail of women that came through his life?
She seemed perfectly nice.
Did you bond with her in a special way? Did you have a different type of relationship with her than you had with any of his other girlfriends?
No, I mean, if anything, I'd say I'd been closer to other girlfriends. I only met her twice.
All right. What about her ex, Sigfredo Garcia? Were you aware of him at all before this case?
No.
So you didn't even know she had an ex?
I knew she had an ex because my brother once mentioned that he was dating a girl and she had an ex that seemed a little scary.
All
and
right.
I said, maybe you should stay away from that.
Yeah. And so the ex, did you have specific knowledge about why he was a little scary?
No.
She's using the word scary again. Hey, Wendy, you're not talking to your boys, okay?
And did Katherine Magbanua ever tell you anything that was specifically scary about him?
No.
Were you aware of your brother having any communications with the scary ex-husband?
No, only that my brother seemed a little scared of him, but I don't know that they talked or didn't talk.
So it would be surprising to you to learn that they had a relationship.
Very.
Hey, is one Pariah 67 Kyle? Is that you, Pariah?
What about your ex-husband, Dan Markel? Did you ever know him to be involved with any type of drug activity or gangsters, anything like that?
No, Danny consulted on criminal law cases, so I do remember there being a case involving Orthodox rabbis that were engaging in some very violent activity, and that had...
The no-nonsense rabbis from New York. It must have been them. But they were his client, weren't they?
But other than that, no.
Okay. Not in his...
They must be really serious rabbis if they're going to kill their own attorney.
person.
No.
Okay. Was your brother Charlie, or is your brother Charlie, protective of you?
He is, yeah.
Did you discuss your marital problems with him back during the time of 2013, 2014?
I did.
Is it fair to say that in the time frame leading up to the murder of your ex-husband that your brother did not like your ex?
I think it's fair to say. I mean, I also think it's fair to say he wasn't particularly concerned with it. He was leading his own life and not really focused on mine.
But your mom was really focused on yours.
My mom was focused on mine.
And your mom was in the ear of your brother quite a bit, same as she was with you, right?
I don't know about how much she was in his ear or not.
Did your brother ever mention hiring a hitman to kill your ex-husband?
He never mentioned hiring a hitman. He told one bad off-color joke where he said he had bought me a TV when I got divorced and said it was a present and made a very bad joke and bad taste, that it was cheaper than hiring a hitman.
And was
But no,
that... I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, that's okay.
What else were you going to say?
I think that was it.
All right. Was that a joke that your brother made one time or more than one time?
He has a tendency to repeat himself, so everything he says multiple times.
Do you know how many times he said it?
I have no idea, but definitely twice at least.
And it was your understanding that he had not made any actual efforts to hire the hitman?
Yes.
Yeah, my brother. He suffers from Tourette's. You know, he'll be going on a date with a woman, and they'll be sitting in a nice, exclusive restaurant, and he'll just randomly blurt out, "Slut!" You know, those guys are funny, aren't they? I mean, you know, I know it's a what do you call it? A condition and everything, but you just can't help but find it funny sometimes. And we got another alert. Who was that from? Pirelli. P. Pirelli. Thank you so much for the 3 coffees, P. Pirelli.
But you did get a TV as a divorce present.
I did get a TV.
Was there a dinner, a time when you went out to dinner with your brother after the murder where you vomited at the table? That happened. It's just yes or no.
But would you like to know the context? It did happen.
Okay, and who was present at that dinner?
Just my brother and me.
Okay, and that was kind of your first time out after this murder had occurred.
Yeah, please do remember to like the video, guys. Like, share, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel, because we've got some great videos coming out. Been talking to the moderators all yesterday, and what have we got? We've got Mythbuster series, Adelson Mythbuster series. We're going to be talking about certain things that people claim, or certain things that have almost become accepted truths to this story that I have issues with. I'm not going to tell you what they are right now, but we've got a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 Mythbuster episodes, which should be a little shorter, but we're going to be grabbing lots of clips from testimonies, interviews, interrogations, and proffers, as well as some footage from around other places, and just, you know, showing what the myth is, showing why people accept it and believe it, and also showing why we believe that it's incorrect. Right? Should be provoking some lively discussion on this channel and within the larger community. I mean, doesn't that sound great? You know, friendly conversations, but sharing ideas, you know. So yeah, please do remember to subscribe to the channel, like, share, leave a comment, and keep an eye out for those Mythbuster episodes.
After it happened, I couldn't eat for several weeks, and then I was completely terrified to leave my house. So this was the first time I tried to leave the house.
I love Georgia, you know, she's just like, you Yeah, completely terrified to leave your house. Oh.
To eat food, and that is how it ended up. I threw up.
At the dinner table, in a restaurant.
Yes, it was very embarrassing.
How long after the murder was that incident?
Probably about a month or so.
Was the dinner intended to be a celebration of the fact that your husband was murdered?
Absolutely not.
Did your brother refer to it as a celebration?
I highly doubt that.
Could that have been one of his jokes that was in bad taste?
He may have been celebrating the fact that I was willing to leave the house.
Right. Were you involved in the plot to kill your husband?
Absolutely not.
Did you have knowledge of the plot to kill your husband?
No.
No, it wasn't me. I just see Matthew K's comment from earlier, which is good. Matthew K says, volume is great, just can't stand Wendy vomit. Slow blinking, head tilt, always the confused dog look. Does she think her vomitous charm will work? Confused dog look. I like that, yeah. I get that when I put a treat in my hand and then make it disappear with soap.
But you suspected that your family was involved.
No, I did not suspect that my family was involved.
Did you mention in your interview with law enforcement that you suspected that your family could be behind this?
I think I speculated about lots
Hey, look, Derek says that he has been through benzo withdrawal. It was hell, 10 days no sleep until it was out my system. Yeah, but it didn't just suddenly come on when you were being transported in the back of a inmate vehicle to Leon County, did it? Didn't just happen. You know, you were doing okay, and then you got transported, and then the withdrawal came on. You know, I mean, she'd been in that place for a week already, right? Cleared by medical staff, and you know, she came out and she was smiling. She, hey, you know, this is the van. She was doing that thing that guilty people do. Like Jody used to do it a lot. Like, oh, this is so interesting. Oh, it's just like on TV, but it's real life. You know, I'm going through the process. And like Dana was doing the same thing, like looking in the van curiously. Like, oh, this is like having a tour. And then suddenly, boom, withdrawal.
In the 6 hours I spent with law enforcement without an attorney present trying to help them solve this murder, yes, I said all kinds of things.
All right, and one of the things you said was that your family very much disliked him and that you thought it was possible that someone had done this on your behalf, unbeknownst to you.
I did say I thought someone might have done this on my behalf, yes.
And who did your brother know that had connections that could get something like that done?
I have no idea.
Do you know Katherine Magbanua?
I have met Katherine Magbanua twice, as I mentioned.
She was your brother Charlie's girlfriend at the time of this murder, wasn't she?
I believe
Objection
so.
asked and answered.
There may have been other girlfriends
Overruled.
there at the time.
All right. Wait a second. Okay, now answer the question.
Specifically at the time of the murder, Katherine Magbanua was your brother's girlfriend at that time, correct?
I think so.
Okay. And can you identify her? You mentioned you've been to the beach with her on one occasion and dinner on another occasion. Do you see her in the courtroom?
Yes. I do.
Could you please point her out and describe what she's wearing?
She is sitting over here. She has on a striped blouse and a blazer.
Let the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant. You mentioned that your brother Charlie had a lot of girlfriends. Did you meet all of his girlfriends?
I highly doubt I met all of them, but I met a lot of them.
All right. And specifically in reference to this defendant, did you talk to her on the phone ever separate from your brother?
I have no memory of ever doing that. I don't think so.
Okay, so it wasn't like you had become girlfriends or had an independent relationship with her. You only saw her secondary to visiting your brother?
Twice.
On 2 occasions. I'll show you State's Exhibit 35. $35.
Yes, I do. That was the second time we got together. It looks like the three of us at the beach. So it's me, Katie, and one of her friends.
Do you remember the friend's name?
I do not.
If I said it, would you be able to say yes or no?
I wouldn't.
Okay. And do you know when the photo was taken?
I don't. My best guess is 2013 or 2014.
Okay. One moment, please, Your Honor.
Okay.
Do you recall going to Miami for Father's Day in June, right before Dan Markel was murdered?
I don't have a strong memory of it, but it sounds like something I might have done to visit my dad.
Okay. Did you previously testify in reference to this same photograph or a similar photograph?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And did you testify at that time?
Objection, Your Honor, improper impeachment. We're fine with something.
We'll return to it, Judge.
All
Just
right,
give me a
that's
minute.
sustained.
All right. And did you have any contact with this defendant since the murder in any kind of way, any communication?
No.
Did you have any contact with her in any way on the day of the murder?
No.
Do you remember what girlfriends came after Katherine Magbanua as far as your brother's girlfriends?
In order?
Just do your best.
I do. I mean,
Whitney Kick.
I feel nervous about saying their names out loud just to.
Why don't we just use first names then?
I remember Whitney.
Okay.
After Whitney.
Whitney, And was Whitney a serious girlfriend?
I think Whitney was a fairly serious girlfriend.
All right. And what about after her?
I'm blanking after Whitney.
Do you remember June?
Yes. Oh, yes. June was after Whitney.
Okay. And can you give me the basic time frame for Whitney?
I just really remember how old my boys were. But I don't know how long she was in his life for. So maybe like 2014 to 2015 or 16. And then June after that, and I think on and off for a couple of years. And then he was together with the mother of his son. And that was probably 2017, 2018.
Okay. I'm going to approach, would it refresh your recollection to look at some text messages so you could give me exact dates of when these women were in your brother's life? Sure.
Right.
All right, so take your time, just take a look at this first page, and I'm specifically referencing these messages that are in red letter.
So help me understand though, this is a message between.
Just take a minute and sort of take your time and look
Oh,
at it.
I'm using this to figure out who he was dating when.
Yes.
Okay.
And you're just gonna take a look at it and tell me if it refreshes your recollection. If you can't figure out what it is or it doesn't refresh, then you let me know.
Okay. Right, so it looks like he was with Whitney in 2014, 2015.
Okay, and
But
the specific date?
I mean, it just means that they're in touch with each other. It doesn't mean that they're...
I'm going to go and get a coffee, guys. A real coffee, okay? And I'll be back in 3 minutes.
dating.
Okay, and when were they in touch?
It looks like he's telling me Whitney is trying to get back together with him in
Objection,
May.
Your Honor. At this point, the witness is just testifying off the documents,
All right.
which we've only seen for a few seconds.
I'm going to sustain that. Okay, I don't want you reading from the documents. What you need to do is take a look at them. If it refreshes your recollection as to what the information that is being asked, then testify to that. If you're just having to read from that document and you don't recall independently, then your answer is that you don't recall. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Yes, my answer is the same as it was. I said 2014, 2015, and it looks like there's conversation around that time. So, okay, it doesn't independently refresh.
Okay, let's take a look at a couple more and see if they're more helpful.
Yep, it's
The same.
the same. 2014.
All right, so 2014, 2015 for both of those women.
Wait, both of those, it's the same woman. It's Whitney.
Oh, I was also asking about June.
Oh, I didn't see June in those text messages.
Okay, when was he dating June?
It's a guess, but I think it's around the same time, maybe 2015, 2016.
Okay, so is it your recollection that it went Magbanua, then Whitney, then June?
As far as people that I met.
Okay. I'm going to show you what I've marked as states 36. Do you recognize state 36?
I think I've seen this picture before.
Okay. And do you recognize the people in the picture?
I do.
Is it a fair and accurate photo of the folks in the picture?
It looks like them back in the day. Yeah.
Okay, and do you know when the photo was taken?
I don't.
All right, who is in the photo?
It's my brother and Katie.
Your brother Charlie?
My brother Charlie.
Okay. And Katie, the defendant in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and is it fair to say this photo was taken during the time that they were dating?
It definitely looks like it.
And what was that time frame?
I don't know the time frame of when they were dating.
Okay, were they dating at the time of this murder? We've already
I believe
established
so.
that, okay. And is this how they appeared around that time? Is it accurate in their appearance?
It seems so. Nobody has any weird facial hair or doctor. I don't know. It looks like I imagine they looked at that time.
Okay, and you saw them at that time, around that time, because you went to the beach and you
I
had dinner.
did. Yeah. I mean, it's been 8 years, so they look different.
They look different now?
Yeah.
Okay, but that's how they look back then.
Probably, yes.
All right, Judge, at this time I ask to move into evidence states 36.
Any objection?
One brief moment, Your Honor. To be a stickler, Judge, but improper authentication.
Overruled. It'll be admitted as states 36.
What's wrong?
Permission to publish?
You may.
I disagree with that.
Do you know of any specific gifts that your brother gave this defendant during their relationship?
I don't.
What about after their relationship? After the conclusion of their relationship?
I am not aware of any gifts between them.
Were you aware that she was on the payroll at the Adelson Institute?
I know that she worked at my dad's office for a while, so it would make sense that she was on the payroll.
And what duties did she perform there?
I have no idea.
Okay, and when you say she worked there, did she physically went there?
I really don't know.
And did you ever work at the Adelson Institute?
I did,
Okay.
between my master's and my law degree.
All
I did
right. And
filing.
did you see Katherine Magbanua there when you were working there?
No, that was 2003.
How do you know that Ms. Magbanua worked at the Adelson Institute?
How do I know? I'm trying to remember if I knew at the time or I found out later. Probably my brother would have told me that Katie was working, and that's how I would have known.
All right. And was that before this murder or since the murder?
I have no idea.
You don't know the time frame she worked there?
I don't know the time frame she worked there, and I don't know why he would have told me. I wasn't very involved with the day-to-day operations of the office or what they did.
Do you know if your brother had any other ex-girlfriends on the payroll at the Adelson Institute?
I don't know.
All right, let's go to the day of Dan Markel's murder. What were you doing that day?
I was at home that morning. I was working on a couple of pieces of writing. I was waiting. I remember the Geek Squad was coming to fix my television. I think
Was that the same television that your brother had purchased for you as a divorce gift because it was cheaper than hiring a hitman?
It was the television that my brother had bought for me.
All right. And did your mother, Donna Adelson, arrange from Miami for the Geek Squad to come to your home that morning to fix the
I
TV?
did.
Would it refresh your recollection to review some text messages regarding that issue?
Hold on a second.
Objection, Your Honor. Improper impeachment. The witness gave an answer.
Overruled.
Counsel, can I take a look at Thanks.
All right, and I'm looking at the items in yellow, but feel free to review the whole document.
Yeah, I don't really understand. It's my best recollection that I set up the appointment for them to come.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes this happens now where there's a different number on the account, so they call the wrong account. So they could have called my mom and she would have said, no, call my daughter. They need to confirm with you.
Okay, but your mom does indicate that she is sending the guy to your
No,
house.
she indicates that she was called by Best Buy.
Mm-hmm.
So that means she was called by accident since they were coming to my house.
Okay. And did you have an appointment scheduled in your calendar, fixed TV?
I did. I thought they were supposed to come sometime between 8 and noon. And then they came pretty early, I think, 9 or something like that.
All right. And did you delete, shown on the far right column there if you need to refresh your recollection, but did you delete that appointment to have the TV fixed?
I'm usually kind of OCD about this. So after I have a meeting, I'll delete it if it's done. I use my calendar kind of like a to-do list. So I'll have the meeting and then I'll delete it.
Okay.
So I must have deleted it once they arrived or sometime later.
Okay. And right before the message that indicates, that's from your mother that we just talked about, Best Buy called.
Okay.
There's a message that says, "This is so sweet." Who is that
Objection, Your Honor.
message to?
Objection.
Hold on. What's the objection?
Hearsay, Your Honor. Item is in evidence.
That's sustained.
All right. Can you say who the message before the Best Buy message? Who did you send that message to?
It looks like I sent that message to my brother.
Your brother Charlie?
Yes.
All right. And that message was deleted as well?
I always delete my messages. But yes, it looks like I deleted it at some point.
All right. And that message, what were you referring to in that message, if you know?
I have no idea.
But it was sweet, whatever it was.
I mean, 8 years ago, I have no idea what was sweet.
So did Best Buy show up and repair the TV that morning?
They showed up and they tried to repair the TV. But I needed to make a call of whether it was worth repairing or whether I should just get a new one, because the repair costs I remember being expensive.
Mm-hmm. And how old was the TV at this point?
I don't know. I don't think it was very old, just a couple of years.
Well, it was given to you as a divorce present at the time of your divorce, right? In 12?
Right. So it wasn't that the TV was old. I think one of the kids had thrown something at the screen, so it cracked it.
Okay. But the fix was done in 14, or the attempted fix.
The attempted fix was in 14.
All right. So the repairman did show up that morning, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you did not recall your mom making that appointment, but was it usual or typical for your mom to get involved in that type of minutia of your daily life?
No.
It would be unusual if she did that.
I mean, it would not be unusual for her to try to help me with various things. So it doesn't sound out of the realm of possibility, but I remember distinctly setting it up for that morning of sometime, like when you wait for a repairman to come, they come in a window, they say between 9 and 1. I remember there being a window they had told me.
And do you remember the specific window in this case?
I keep thinking it was 8 to 12, but I don't know if that's correct.
Okay, and we're talking about 8 a.m., between 8 a.m. and noon. And you agree that your ex-husband, sorry, I keep doing that, was murdered between 8 a.m. and noon.
I don't know the exact time of when it happened.
Really?
Between 8 a.m. and noon?
Yes.
I mean, yes, but I thought it was closer to 10 or 11.
Okay. But the question was it between 8 a.m. and noon?
Yes, it was between 8 a.m. and noon.
All right. And did you leave your residence at all that day after you got the TV or the TV man came?
After the TV repairman came, I did a little bit more work from home. I talked to a couple of friends, and then I made plans to have lunch with 2 friends that I frequently saw on Fridays. And we made kind of a last minute plan to have lunch. And then I had a few errands to run before I met them. So I did that. I picked up gas. I picked up something I needed for a party that night. And then I went to meet my friends for lunch.
All right. And do you know what time you left the residence that day?
I don't. I guess it's somewhere around noon.
And then went and ran your errands? On the way to run your errands, did you go by the crime scene?
No.
On the way to run your errands, did you encounter a roadblock on Trescott?
I did.
All right, so you did turn off of Centerville onto Trescott.
I did.
All right, and when you encountered a roadblock, what did you assume the problem was there?
I figured it was just an electrical storm or something. There was some tape, and it looked like the road was blocked off. And so I just turned around and went back and went up Benton.
And had there been an electrical storm that morning?
I didn't remember an electrical storm, but in the summertime, there's always trees falling and rainstorms, so pretty normal.
Right. And you weren't concerned based on that experience that there could be something going on at your marital home?
Absolutely not.
And your ex-husband, Dan Markel, had your children at that time, right?
No, he did not.
Okay. So you had your children at that time?
No, my children were at preschool at that time.
Right. But who took them to preschool that day?
Danny would have taken them to preschool.
Okay. So it was his day. He was killed on his parenting day.
It was the day he would have brought them to preschool and I would have picked them up.
All right. Did they spend the night with him the night before?
They did.
And you hadn't seen your children yet that day when you encountered the roadblock?
On Friday, no.
And were you on the phone when you encountered the roadblock? If you remember?
Was.
Do you remember who you were speaking to?
I do.
Who was that? You don't have to say the name, but just what type of person was that?
He was a friend. I hadn't caught up with him a long time. He had moved to England. So I was probably a little distracted, talking and catching up with an old friend.
And when you encountered, at the time that you encountered the roadblock or shortly thereafter, did you call the daycare?
No.
Did you call Dan Markel?
No.
Did you do anything to reach out to any of the players that we've talked about in this case?
No.
Did you communicate to anyone that there was a roadblock?
I didn't. I would have had no reason to do that.
Was Dan Markel scheduled to leave town the day after he was killed?
I believe so.
Where was he going?
He was going to New York.
And that's where he had a girlfriend?
That's where his girlfriend lived.
Do you know how the killers knew that Dan Markel was planning to leave town the next day?
I have no idea.
You didn't relay that information to anyone?
Absolutely not.
Did you have WhatsApp on your phone at the time?
I really don't know. I have it now. I don't know if I had it 8 years ago.
Did you communicate with anyone on WhatsApp or similar technology to relay any information about the murder of your husband?
Absolutely not.
Do you know if your brother Charlie had WhatsApp at the time?
I have no idea.
Did you communicate with him through WhatsApp?
If I had WhatsApp on my phone, then maybe I did. I know I
WhatsApp.
had friends who lived around the world. At that time, WhatsApp was more of a technology used to talk to people internationally. So I know the friend I was talking to was in England. If I had WhatsApp, I would have used it to call him.
Did you know that WhatsApp, the communications are encrypted? They cannot be retrieved by law enforcement? Were you aware of that?
I think they can be retrieved by law enforcement, but it's one of the end-to-end encryption services.
Yeah.
All right. And
I think they can be retrieved by law enforcement. So obviously, if I were communicating with anybody, I wouldn't have done it to not be. You know, like, her lies are so easy.
so you can't tell the jury whether you communicated through WhatsApp at all on the day of the murder?
I don't remember if I had it 8 years ago. I have it now, so we could look and figure out if I had it then, but I don't know.
All right. Did you ever communicate with Katherine Magbanua at any time through WhatsApp?
I never communicated with her at all.
When you left the residence and encountered the roadblock, where were you headed?
When I left my residence, I was headed to ABC Liquors to get an item that was requested for a Stock the Bar party. I was supposed to go to that Friday night.
What was that item?
I'm sorry?
What was the item?
It was bourbon.
What type of bourbon?
Bullet bourbon. The invitation had asked specifically to bring a bottle of Bullet bourbon, so I went to the store and asked them where I could find that.
And the bottle of Bullet bourbon was in your vehicle when law enforcement came to interview you about this case?
Right. When I told law enforcement they could search my vehicle.
As you all know, guys, I think the invitation that was produced at some point, I think it was before Charlie's trial, is complete bullshit, was just made by Harvey in his little fucking Photoshop studio. But let's say it wasn't. All right, let's say it was genuine from the couple that were getting married, and they asked her to bring a bottle of Bullet bourbon and made her this little fucking invitation and put, please bring a bottle of Bullet bourbon. You know, it's not... Another thing that's in Wendy's remit and forte is to, you know, do this plant seed thing that she will cash in on at a later stage. We saw it with Jane. Hey, Jane, won't you come for a walk with me, Jane? And let me console in you, Jane, about jealous Jeff and our horrible trip in Gainesville where he flew into a rage. You know, was Jeff this much of a lunatic? You know, what if Wendy was visiting with these couple that were getting married before they sent the invitations out and was like, hey, the best bourbon is bullet bourbon. You gotta do bullet bourbon. At your wedding, it should be all a big bullet bourbon theme. We're in the South. Get a bullet bourbon wedding, you know? Maybe that's a reach, but I'm just saying that even if the invitation is genuine, which it's not, it doesn't preclude influence by Wendy Adelson, because that is the kind of stuff that she does, right? You know, and I can think of other examples. I can think of other examples where she does that exact pattern of influence. And she probably does it in every fucking aspect of her life. I mean, on the big stuff and the really small stuff. She'll probably do it to a waitress in a restaurant when she's ordering a meal. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this thing about dictating by you know, suggestion, I suppose you'd call it. Dictating by suggestion, not an order. Manipulation 101, right? She does it with the big stuff, she does it with the small stuff. Thanks so much, Jessie Cat, for the super chat. Jessie says, thank you for the content and commentary. You're welcome, Jessie. It's what we do.
Yep. Signed away all my rights, yeah.
How's the noise of this heater fan, guys? I just need to try and warm up my feet a little bit, and then I'll turn it off.
After the murder of Dan Markel, was it your practice to tell people, just acquaintances and peripheral people in your life, that he had been involved in an accident?
Oh my God.
I don't believe so.
Do you know whether that was something that your brother told people?
Okay. I have no idea what my brother told
Pause.
people.
Hold. We've got ride-in shotgun, send in the dress. Let's look at it all together. Hang on, guys. Uh-oh. Hang on. $34. Okay, that's second hand, right? Okay, we've got this in Portuguese now. Brazilian Portuguese. Let's put it in English. What a horrible, horrible dress. Ugh. Burn it. I'll pay $34 to burn it. We should all get one and wear it to trial. That wouldn't be contempt of court. 63% polyester. there any like comments or? That's been years since I was on eBay. Item description: Club Monaco grey knee-length dress with black piping, size 6, fully lined, with kick pleat in back, smooth metal zipper in perfect working condition, beautiful soft thick material, looks like wool but has no wool, winter weight, a New York executive's dress, so classy, excellent condition, no damage. I mean, it should be sold as a Wendy Adelson dress. You'd get 10 times the money for a sick collector. Okay, thank you, Ryden, for sharing that with us.
Your brother Charlie Adelson tell someone Dan Markel was involved in an accident?
No, I've never heard that. I was just thinking, law enforcement told me when they were interviewing me that I wasn't supposed to tell anyone what happened until it was released.
Oh, Neville Darling said it's not Wendy's dress. Well, it's the same one. It's not actually hers. It's definitely, I'm looking at it right now, it's the same one.
And that was just the day of?
That was the day of.
Okay. Did you or your children benefit financially from your husband's death?
Absolutely not.
Did your husband have a life insurance policy?
He did have a life insurance policy.
And what was the value of that policy?
I don't know what the value of it was at the time. I do know that his sister's a custodian of that life insurance policy, and I pay taxes on that money every year, but we don't receive any of it.
What was the value of it at the time of your husband's death?
It was $1 million.
Not $2 million?
$1 million for each child.
$2 million. All right. And did you believe prior to your husband's murder that you were the custodian of that money for the benefit?
Neville, you've just broken something in your house, haven't you? There's a vase of flowers being thrown at the wall in Orange County, California right now. What was the value of the policy? It was $1 million, not $2 million. $1 million per child. $2 million.
No, we were divorced, so I was the custodian while we were married. But once we were divorced, I was no longer the custodian.
So you were aware that he had designated someone else to do that job? You didn't inquire through your attorney about challenging the designation of the sister as the custodian of that money?
I wasn't trying to challenge the designation, no.
Do you have access personally to that money?
No.
All right. What about a 401k? Did your ex-husband have a 401k when you died?
I believe he did.
All right. And are you the custodian of that money for the benefit of the boys?
I am. That's how I pay the taxes.
Someone American tell me what that is. Is that like a pension? 401k. Is that what that is? Like a little bit of your income goes aside for when you're old? Is that what that is?
All right. Did he have a pension?
I don't know.
Oh, no.
Social Security benefits?
I don't know.
So what is a 401k?
He had Social Security benefits. As survivors, my children receive Social Security benefits.
$4,800 a month, right?
That's right.
Deferred compensation fund?
I don't remember.
$217,000. Does that sound familiar?
I don't remember.
What about the IRA? Did you have an IRA?
I really don't know.
$100,000?
It's very possible.
What about a checking account?
I don't know. I assume he had a checking account.
$15,000 in there, right?
Wouldn't go to us, but sure. I imagine he had a checking account.
It wouldn't go to you and the boys? Where did it go?
Funeral expenses?
Okay. All right. And obviously you did not have to maintain your divorce lawyer for any purpose after the murder of Dan Markel.
I think at that point he was trying to provide counsel for something else, but no, I didn't. I had to maintain him for a little bit just to close out the case. He had some work to do to finalize things.
And was your mom able to go back to work full time once you moved to South Florida, or did she remain in this status of sort of helping with the kids a lot and working part-time?
She helped with the kids a lot, especially while I tried to get back on my feet and find work.
Right. Have you ever returned to Tallahassee to live after, you said you left about 2 days after the death?
I've never come back to live. I came back to give a talk, I think twice. And then I came back for a friend's wedding. I came back for a friend's bar mitzvah. So probably came back 4 or 5 times since.
Right, but the question
not
is to reside.
I'm sorry, Ms. Kaplan. I haven't lived here.
Okay.
Since I left.
You've lived steady in South Florida since that date.
I have lived in South Florida.
Okay. And who has full custody of your 2 boys?
Me.
And does your mom have any issues with having access to your boys, or does she have full access to your kids?
I mean, there's no issues with access. No.
How often would you say your mom sees the kids?
I think it depends on the week, but probably at least once or twice a week.
How old are your boys now?
They're 11 and 12.
How old were they when their dad was killed?
It was 10 days before my older son's birthday, so he was almost 5. And my younger son was 3.5.
Did you change their legal names about a month or so after the murder?
No, not a month or so after the murder, no.
When was it done? Even sooner than that?
No, absolutely not. When I tried to put my children in school and their faces had been unblurred on CNN and all across social
Ma'am, when were their names changed?
media,
I'm sorry
I thought
to
we were
interrupt you, but if you'll answer my question is, when were the boys' names changed?
the boys' names were changed after I wrote a letter to Danny's family explaining why I was
Ma'am,
changing their names.
When were their names
About
changed?
a year after.
Okay, and that was when they were legally changed, July 6, 2015?
I don't
Sound
remember
right?
the date, but if you have it, that sounds correct.
Okay, so they were legally changed on that date, but just a month or so after the murder, when you were enrolling them in school, is when they effectively had their names changed.
That is not true.
And what did you change their names from and to?
I changed their last name from their father's last name to mine.
From Markel to Adelson.
That is correct.
And did you also drop...
I'd love to see a copy of the letter that she supposedly wrote to the Markels explaining why she was removing the name Markel from the boys.
middle name of one of your boys that was a tribute to his paternal side.
It was a tribute to both families.
Did you drop it?
I did. I lost an honor to both families that day, yes.
Do you want the culpable parties in this murder held accountable?
Absolutely.
And even if it involves your own family?
Absolutely.
Do you recall giving an interview with law enforcement on the day that your ex-husband, was murdered?
I recall sitting with law enforcement for 6 hours. Yes, I recall.
And did you tell law enforcement something different in that interview about the culpability of your family?
I'm sure while I sat for 6 hours completely traumatized that I said...
You recall sitting with law enforcement for 6 hours, do you, Wendy? Well, do you recall giving you a fucking stupid podcast about writing practice and telling us then that it was 8 hours? I mean, why does the number change? It's a considerable difference. I mean, they're both long periods of time, right? But if you've already been sitting in a room for 6 hours, you'll know about another 2, right?
all kinds of things.
All right, and was one of the things you said while you sat for 6 hours completely traumatized that you wanted the culpable parties held accountable unless it was your family?
I don't believe I phrased it like that, and I think you're taking my words out of context, but sure.
But sure.
But sure what?
No further questions.
All right, we're going to take our break now. So it'll be about a 10, 15-minute break, allow you to stretch your legs, use the facilities. And so the deputy will take you back. Remember, no discussion about the case or any testimony that you've heard. You can leave your pads on your chairs, and we'll be back to continue the testimony in about 15 minutes.
Well, let's go over to Christopher to Coast for some cross. I mean, that's going to be nice. That's going to be just like refreshing. I mean, Georgia does a pretty good job at rattling herself to the end, even though it's her own witness, right? And she kind of has to be a little bit polite, but you know, I love how Georgia escalates things throughout the trial. She was pretty neutral in the first one with Sigfredo and Katie shared trial. I mean, not neutral, but you know, there were less digs, and here there's more digs. And then when we got to Charlie, it was like, you know, it's different now, isn't it? It's different today, isn't it? I love no further questions. Mic drop, Georgia. The best. And where's Christopher the Coast? Miss Adelson, this is all about you, isn't it?
Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Ms. Adelson, this is all about you, isn't it?
Excuse me?
This is all about you, right?
I was called to be a witness and I'm testifying, so I don't understand the question. Is it a question?
There's about 100 people in this courtroom, right?
There are people in the courtroom.
Possibly thousands watching, right?
I have no idea who's watching.
And it's all because of your failed marriage, right?
I disagree with that.
You disagree that your ex-husband is dead because of your family.
Yes, I disagree.
These jurors are here for weeks doing their civic duty because of your marriage, right?
No.
Katie's going through this ordeal because of that marriage, right?
No.
Dan Markel's parents are going through absolute misery because of your failed marriage. Isn't that right?
No, that's incorrect.
Well, let's talk about the marriage. You and Professor Markel, you met when you were in law school. You told that to Miss Kaplan. And it was a whirlwind romance, right? Right?
It was not a whirlwind romance, no.
It led to a wedding, February 26th of 2006. You had a big wedding in Boca Raton, right?
Did we get married on February 26, 2006? Is that the question? Yes.
In Boca Raton.
In Boca Raton, Florida.
And it wasn't a small wedding. It was a big wedding.
There were many people in attendance.
Right. In this marriage, it led to 2 children, right? Your 2 boys.
Are you asking me if I have 2 boys?
Yes.
Yes.
Professor Markel, he was a great father, wasn't he?
He was a very good father, yes.
Those boys were his world, right?
As well as his work, yes.
And they adored him too, didn't they?
Absolutely.
Now, this marriage started to fall apart, right?
It did.
But there were problems from the very beginning, weren't there? Right?
Are you asking me, what is the very beginning? The very beginning of when we got married?
Literally at the wedding.
There were problems before we got married.
All right, so at the wedding, and the government asked you about kosher at law, right?
About what, I'm sorry?
Keeping kosher.
About keeping kosher, yes.
Right?
The government
And your wedding, at your wedding, was the groom's family, the Markel family, and they are more strict than your family and friends about keeping kosher.
They do not keep kosher.
Wasn't that one of the problems in your marriage, that Professor Markel was very insistent about keeping kosher.
About his kosher rules, but those are different than his family's.
So you're saying that it wasn't a problem at the wedding, that there were people from the groom's side of the family that were there that strictly keep kosher, that they were told that it was going to be kosher food, but it actually wasn't.
So there was a misunderstanding about whether the food was going to be kosher style or more in adherence with kosher law. There was a miscommunication about that.
So you had people that strictly keep kosher eating non-kosher food, which is a big deal.
That actually.
So for the kosher style merch, guys, you know, I don't want to, you know, I've got some designs for the kosher style merch. We've got a pepperoni pizza, a cheeseburger, and a shrimp. Right? So 3 different designs, each say kosher style, and then there's a nice graphic of those respective foods. Is that going to be construed as anti-Semitic? I mean, how do we, if people are walking around with a shirt that says kosher style and there's a shrimp on it, I mean, is that offensive? It's like, it's sort of a, you know, if you understand the context of this trial, it's fine, right? But if you don't, what will people think? I don't know.
Actually, not what happened. Danny was upset that it was kosher style and not strictly adhering to kosher law. So he was disappointed.
So there's problems right from the beginning.
That was a problem at our wedding, yeah.
Fast forward now to September 10th, 2012. Professor Markel, he's away on a business trip, right?
Yes.
He's in New York City at New York University, right?
I believe so, yes.
And he's doing a presentation.
I don't know what he was doing.
Your husband at the time was in New York to give a presentation. You knew that, right?
I knew he was in New York. I didn't know if he was attending a conference or giving a presentation, but he was in New York for work.
Now, you had not communicated with him for 2 days.
I really don't remember.
You text him at around 2:30 in the afternoon, right? Right before he's about to do the presentation.
I really don't remember.
But you do remember dropping the bomb on him, don't you? Telling him that you wanted a divorce.
So I did not drop a bomb on him. We'd been in therapy for several months beforehand where I told him several times I wanted a divorce.
You say it's not a bomb, but you agree with me that he begged you to reconsider.
He was very upset and yes, wanted me to reconsider, but...
In that phone call, he's begging you to reconsider. Please don't leave. Please don't break up our family, right?
He was very upset, yes.
And he was heartbroken. I mean, upset indicates that there was anger. What he was heartbroken, right?
That I decided to divorce him after telling him I would, yes.
Despite being at NYU for a presentation, he rushes home. He gets on the next flight, right?
I honestly don't remember if he got on the next flight, but he did come home quickly.
2:30 he finds out in New York. By 11 p.m. he's walking in the door to your old house at Trescott Drive, right?
I don't know.
But you do know that when he walks in the house, what he finds. You know that, right?
Yes, I left him the papers.
You left the divorce papers on the bed, right?
Yes.
Half the furniture was gone.
Half the furniture was not gone.
A good amount of his stuff was gone.
Nothing of his was gone.
The boys' stuff was gone, right?
Some of the boys' things were gone. I'd taken enough so that I had for the boys, but no.
You were gone.
I was gone, yes.
And so were his boys.
His boys were not gone. He saw them the next day, and they would not have been awake if he's coming home at 11 p.m.
Let's stay on topic here.
When he walks in
the door, the boys are not in the house, right?
Correct.
And you did not tell Professor Markel where you were taking the boys. He may have seen them the next day, but you did not let him know where you were going to be staying with his boys.
With our boys? Yes.
So you agree with me that they're also his?
Of course they're his.
And he should be entitled to know where his wife is taking his children.
Absolutely.
That's not all you took, is it?
Excuse me?
You two had a joint checking account at Schwab, right?
We did.
And you went into that account before you dropped the bomb, and you took out half of that account, right?
Correct.
Roughly $350,000.
Half, yes. Of our joint account.
$350,000.
I don't remember the amount, but yes.
You know that it was in the hundreds of thousands.
I really don't remember the amount, sir.
Is it that insignificant of a sum to you that you
I'm
don't
not saying
remember?
it's an insignificant sum. I'm saying I can't attest to the amount that was there.
I'm going to tone it down. You were unhappy in the marriage, right?
That's why I got divorced, yes.
And it happens. Marriages fall apart, right?
Yes.
But you complained constantly about it, didn't you?
No, I don't think I complained constantly.
To anyone that would listen.
No, that's not true.
You agree with me that you complained to the one person that would actually do something about it?
I mean, Jeff Lacasse told us that you complained to anyone that would listen, that there was every fucking day you would complain about Tallahassee and how you hated that you got stuck here because of Danny Markel. You know, there were two topics of conversation during your entire relationship with Jeff Lacasse. I mean, he told us that. So,
your big brother, Charles Adelson, you complained to him about how bad Professor Markel was and how much you hated him and didn't want to be in a marriage with him.
I definitely talked to my brother about how unhappy I was in my marriage. If that's the question, then yes. Is that the question?
Yes, that is a question. You talked to your brother, Charles Adelson, about how bad your marriage was.
I did, yes.
Let's talk about it. Government asked you about Charles Adelson. He's an intelligent guy, right?
He is smart.
Yeah. He's both book smart and street smart, right?
I would say so.
You would say that he's a talker.
He does like to talk.
He's got the gift of gab, so to speak.
I wouldn't say he's the gift of gab, but he does talk.
He knows what to say in the moment.
I wouldn't say that's true either.
You would say, though, that he is. Now, you were asked questions about, drug purchasing and stuff like that. You'd agree with me that he's also street smart.
I mean, I think he has common sense.
And that he lives life to a certain extent on both sides of the track. During the day, he's doing periodontal work, whatever that is, crowns, root canals, whatever that is. He's doing that during the day. At night, he's out with friends, he's buying drugs. He's living life on both sides of the track.
I don't know about that he's out buying drugs.
Now, let's talk for a second about WhatsApp. And as an aside here for a second, the government asked you the question if you used WhatsApp.
Was the audio popping, guys? Is it too loud? Christopher the Coast? Seems to be going into the red, but I don't know. I don't want to turn it down if it's okay. Let us know if it's okay.
You remember that?
I remember them asking me, yes.
On the day that Professor Markel was killed, you went in for the interview, right?
I talked to the police.
And you also gave them your phone for them to inspect?
Absolutely.
So the determination of what, if any, WhatsApp was being used, they would have from the download they did that of your phone.
Sure.
Would you be surprised to learn that your brother used WhatsApp?
No.
You would agree with me that WhatsApp, and you explained it well, is and
correct.
In your lay opinion, if you can explain to the jurors, just in case they don't know, what that means.
I know that it's something we use at my work because essentially it has the ability to keep things more private. I also know that nothing's actually private and that anyone who wants to can uncode the messages. So that's what we tell people at our work.
So the thought is with WhatsApp, if I use my phone and I call somebody, the call could be listened to. If I text somebody, it's recordable, right?
I think so.
But with WhatsApp, you can send messages or have phone calls where there's no record of it.
I don't think that's true. I think there is still a record of it.
But the belief and the thought, I'll withdraw that question. Your lay understanding, though, is that the footprint that it leaves is much less than that of normal communications.
I think it's different, but I think it still leaves a digital footprint that's easily uncodable.
If you were to send a WhatsApp message to Ms. Kaplan, it would show that a message was sent, but it would be hard to get what the content of the message is.
I don't think that's true.
All right. Let's talk about your brother's jokes now. You don't deny that he joked about hiring a hitman.
He did.
You don't deny that he repeated this joke.
He did.
And he made this joke right before a hitman murdered Professor Markel.
I don't know that to be true.
Okay. He made the joke right before, and I'll leave out the hitman part, Professor Markel was killed.
He made the joke the morning that I talked to him.
And you think I would actually hire two people to go kill Professor Markel other than your family?
No.
Ms.
here
Adelson,
we
please
go.
answer. Please address me and answer the
It
question.
calls for an unbelievable amount of speculation. I mean, I'm responsible for coming up with.
Your Honor, you need to step in, Your Honor. This renegade fool, Christopher DeCoste, doesn't... He's not being a good lawyer, Your Honor. Tell him to go. Tell him to go away. I want to cross-examine myself as an attorney. It wasn't me.
That's the prosecutor who's responsible.
You just said a moment ago that you disagree that hitman killed Professor Markel. That's what you said, right? So my question to you is, if you're able to say, well, it wasn't hitman, then who? Tell this jury. Who on this planet would have wanted to kill Professor Markel?
I have no idea.
All right. Let's get into that a little bit. But I want to make sure that's clear. This joke is made right before Professor Markel is murdered, right?
The joke was made many times.
It was made right before Professor Markel was murdered. Yes or no?
Yes.
July 18, 2014, you're interviewed, and you make a statement saying, I knew this would happen. You said that, right?
I did.
All right. Now I want to talk about your knowledge and your belief on this.
What?
You're a smart
What?
person, right?
When did she say that?
And saying, I knew this would happen. Professor Markel.
I have no idea.
All right. Let's get into that a little bit. But I want to make sure that's clear. This joke is made right before Professor Markel is murdered, right?
The joke was made many times.
It was made right before Professor Markel was murdered. Yes or no?
Yes.
July 18, 2014, you're interviewed, and you make a statement saying, I knew this would happen. You said that, right?
I did.
All right. Now,
I can't remember that. She said in the interview that I knew this would happen. Who to? Not to Isom. It would have been to Sarah, maybe? Sarah Latour? Or was it to herself when she was in the room on her own? I can't remember that, having watched the interview 100 times.
I want to talk about your knowledge and your belief on this. You're a smart person, right?
How am I supposed to answer that?
Well, let's go through your resume. You went to Brandeis University.
You're also a published author with this piece of shit trash book.
Right?
I did.
You graduated magna cum laude.
I did.
If you could explain to the jury what that means.
It means I studied a lot and got good grades.
It means, and to speak, I'm from the Northeast. My Boston accent may give it away. It means you're wicked smart, right?
That's very
You had a
nice.
high
Thank you.
GPA, a very high GPA.
I work hard.
You also went and you got a master's degree from the University of Cambridge.
I did.
You were a Gates Scholar.
I was.
You then go to the University of Miami School of Law, which is a top-tier law school, Tier 1, right?
Okay.
Right? We're talking about your level of intelligence. You went to the University of Miami Law School, right?
I did, yes.
You also clerked at the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, right?
I did.
Now, to get a clerkship out of law school, it's a very difficult thing to do, right?
It's challenging.
You have to have top grades. You have to go through a rigorous selection process, right?
Yes.
You then become a professor at the Florida State University College of Law, right?
Yes.
You're also a published author. Right.
Now you're just embarrassing me.
Why are you embarrassed that you're a published author?
I don't like talking about myself.
Is it because the book that you wrote discredited Tallahassee and spoke ill of it?
The book did not discredit Tallahassee. It wasn't about Tallahassee.
Let's stay on topic.
Yeah, it was about Hiawassee. Tallahassee. What? Why, I don't see the connection. The university? It wasn't called Florida State. It was called North Florida State. Completely different. Panhandle? Yeah. Many towns are in the Panhandle. Yeah, no, look, I went straight out of law school and I got a clerkship at the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. What? I don't know what contempt means. My knowledge of criminal law dates back to when I did half a semester at the beginning of my education. What is contempt?
Can I ask the question again with everything that we just went through? You're a smart woman, right?
I am a smart woman.
There's information about this case everywhere. You'd agree with me on that, right?
I'd been advised by my lawyer not to read it.
All right. Now,
Also
we're not
to
talking...
listen. Also not to watch. Don't read. Don't read.
about reading stuff. There's podcasts,
Also not to listen.
TV shows,
Also not to watch.
articles.
Don't read.
And so you've made the decision. Now, you're a lawyer yourself too, right?
I am.
And you made the decision, I'm not going to look at any of this stuff.
Correct.
I don't want to know what happened to the father of my 2 children.
Not I don't want to know what happened.
How can you say you love those boys if you don't care who killed the father that they loved?
Of course I care who killed the father that they loved.
Then why won't you look at the stuff?
I've been advised not to.
Are you afraid that when you look at it, you're going to realize that your brother did this?
I am not afraid of that.
Now, of course, you've, and we won't get into privileged communications, but you've spoken to your lawyer about the case.
How are we not getting into privileged communications? Yes, I've spoken to my lawyer about the case.
You're very intelligent. You have one of the top defense attorneys in the country.
Yes, of course I care. You know, when I'm slutting my way through the highest level of society in Miami at my $500 a plate dinners, I sometimes I pause, and I just pause, and I think to myself, who killed the father that they loved? You know, of course I care. But my lawyer, he told me, he said, don't watch, don't listen, don't read.
True. Former federal prosecutor, John Law, right there in the blue suit, right?
He is my attorney.
You're telling me with all of this at your disposal, your intelligence, his experience, and all this information, that you don't care to find out who it is that killed Professor Markel?
This is not that I don't care to find out. My job is to take care of those boys, and that is what I do. I don't see how it helps take care of them to go reading and watching and soaking up all of the horrible information that's out there.
You don't realize that you could be helpful in finally untangling this to give this jury the truth about what happened to Professor Markel?
I have been nothing but helpful since this started.
To what happened to their son?
How's that, Wendy? I mean, you were brought in, you didn't have an option. Isom went to get you and said, you're coming with me, you know? Then somehow you managed to get out of the interrogation room and just be set loose. You attended the memorial, left pretty much immediately. Isom called you up and you threw your cell phone out of the window of a moving car. I have been nothing but helpful, you know.
By you looking at it, you are at the center of all this, but you won't look at anything to help in the process.
I've done nothing but help in this process.
You came here and testified.
I came here and testified. I spoke to the police for 6 hours without anyone present. I signed over my cell phone, my car, my house, everything, my computer. What else do I have or know that you haven't seen?
You came here because...
Yeah, leave me alone. I did everything on the first day. Everything that she just mentioned, she did on the murder day, July 18th, right? I spoke to the police for 6 hours. I handed over my computer, my cell phone, and that was enough. Then I went to get on with my slut life. Okay? I put the boys with my parents, and I left them, and I got on with my slut life. Okay? Leave me alone.
Because you were subpoenaed and had no choice.
Correct.
Right?
This is not fun. I would not do this by choice.
You've been
I care who killed the father that they loved, but I don't want to do this by choice. I've been nothing but helpful, but I don't want to be here by choice.
I've not been inconvenienced.
Professor Markel was shot in the head.
I'm not complaining about being here. This is my duty. I'm here.
We'll get back.
Really? Because, I mean, you know, we heard your lawyer come up and say, well, Miss Adelson has received a subpoena from both the prosecution and the defense, but the defense subpoena doesn't confer immunity. So not only will Miss Adelson be unequivocally invoking her Fifth Amendment privilege, but we don't think she should have to do so on the stand in front of the jury. But of course it is her duty to be here and help find who killed the father that they loved. It's just the stupidest fucking shit, isn't it? Hey, I mean, how horrible it must be to be Wendy Adelson, right? To have no love in your life whatsoever, no self-love, no self-worth, right? Underneath all of that fucking arrogance and all of that fucking hubris fucking demeanor and persona, there is someone that has so much self-loathing, so much self-doubt, so much is so undermined by their own perception of who they are, so uncomfortable in their own skin that they just must want to fucking slit their wrists on a daily basis, right? And that's why those feelings are so terrifying, that all of this shit, this evil shit that she does, it's really her own misdirection to not face herself. Yeah? It must be really fucking horrible to just not know what it's like to have any compassion, any worth. You know, to go around the world and like nothing about who you are as a person, like her, like what she feels about herself, and then, you know, not even be able to investigate why that is, because it's so terrifying that you have to become this spiteful, evil fucking monster, just so you can suspend your own, you know, reflection. Must be tough, Wendy. Must be really tough. But you know, you could not be better positioned as a member of society to get some serious help. You've got the money, you've got the contacts. You know, you're in the type of society where you could have had the best help in the world to get to the root of your problem, but you were too afraid to even go there, and thus you became this. You don't love anybody, and no one loves you. It's a very, very lonely world for you, Wendy. Perhaps Wendy's biggest victim is herself. Maybe she'll be relieved when she doesn't have to do it anymore. Interesting.
To you, complaining about being here. Do you honestly expect this jury to believe that you haven't confronted your brother?
You know, she must have read books. She must have, you know, been on a long plane journey, or sitting by a swimming pool, or wherever else do people read books? You know, at night in bed, a novel, a really good book. You know when you read a fucking good book and you cannot put it down? Looks like you go and do an activity. You'd be like, okay, I've been reading this for like 3 hours now. I've got to put it down and go and get on with my day. And then you try and get on with your day and you're just like, gotta read the book, gotta read the book, gotta read the book. You know, really good book. I mean, she must have read a really good book, right? That she was so into and so involved and was just like, oh, like mind going, whoa, what is this fucking story? There's all this, there's these characters and this, you know, these situations that are being described in a beautiful way and everything, and it's just so fucking compelling, right? She must be able to see the difference between a book like that and the piece of fucking shit trash that she wrote, with shitloads of grammatical errors, spelling errors, and desperate needs for it to seem highbrow. Like, she's got this thing in the book where she purposefully, you know, there's several countries that it takes place in. I think it's Slovakia and down in somewhere in South America or Central America, I forget where it was, but you know, she purposefully uses place names and people's names with special, you know, characters, letters in them, different pronunciation. Where if you're a native English speaker, you may not know how to pronounce it, and it's so clearly for the reason to make her seem like, well, this, of course I know how to pronounce whatever it is, you know, place names and people's names, all the way through the book. There's no reason for that, other than to seem like you're intellectual to the point where you can read any fucking foreign spelling of a, you know what I'm saying? So transparent, so desperate, you know, and the sex stuff, lots of like over the top, needless to the plot of the story, sexual innuendo. I mean, the whole thing is desperate. The whole thing is lacking in any artistic, literary talent or flair. Nothing, not one bit. The structure, the fucking punctuation is fucked up in the book. Sometimes you're reading it and you have to go back and read it again because the punctuation has led you in a different... It's complete and utter garbage. If you walked into any high school in the country, you know, an English class, there'd be 3 kids at least that could write a better book, just as a fucking assignment. not as a learned academic who's producing a material to be handed out as the common read to Florida State University. I mean, how many students is that? Every freshman in the university campus gets a copy of this book and, is suggested to... the common read thing is so that people that are going into university can have this thing to talk about, right? It should be a really good book. Not this. And you're going to set out for that as a goal, and you're going to come up with something with bad punctuation, desperate attempts to seem more intelligent than you are, needless sex shit that's like, that's fine and everything if it's got a purpose, but it's so needless that it's like the question becomes, why is that there? And it's not a question that's answered, it's just weird. It comes across weird. Any high school in the country, walk into a fucking English class, 3 kids are going to do better. Just as an assignment, not even as a fucking big project for a learned academic. It's ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculous.
About all of this?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you did confront them?
Yes, I do expect them to believe that I did not confront my brother because I didn't.
Or maybe you don't need to because you know the truth in this case. You already know it. That he went behind your back, right?
Did not happen.
Just like he has done with past boyfriends. He's done that in the past where he's gone behind your back when you were having problems in a relationship and dealt with it himself.
No.
Miss Adelson, you understand that until you expose your brother what he did, that everybody's going to consider you as guilty. You understand that, right?
What is the question that you're asking me?
You understand that until you expose your brother and explain what he did, that he went behind everybody's back, that he hired a hitman to murder your ex-husband, you'll remain guilty in the eyes of the world.
I can't speak to the eyes of the world. I can only know that I have done nothing wrong.
Or maybe you are guilty.
I am not guilty.
So, a witness in this case, and I'm not going to get into their testimony, but one of the hitmen, the convicted hitman, implicates you. On July 17, 2014, the day before the murder, the morning before, he says that you were walking on Trescott with the 2 boys, that you walked down the driveway and into the house.
That never happened.
Right, because Professor Markel, Professor Markel, he had the kids. Based on the way that your guy's schedule was, on that day he would have had the children in the morning, and you're going through such a bad divorce you wouldn't be at his house, right?
I wouldn't be at his house anyway, but not because we were going through a bad divorce. At that time, things were pretty copacetic.
All right, so we're coming back to maybe you do know, or maybe you were involved.
Excuse me? What's the question that you're asking me?
I'm giving you a header of what we're talking about so that it will ease you in the question, okay? I'm just telling you what the topic that we're on, so we'll get to a question. Now, the government asked you about a time that you met Miss Magbanua. It was actually spring break of March 2.
See the fucking anger in that stare there. She's breaking character. Look at that. Man, it's like a fucking python looking at a rat. A python in an ugly fucking dress. Well, maybe you are guilty. Maybe you already know the truth. You already know.
Divorce, you would be at his house, right?
I wouldn't be at his house anyway, but not because we were going through a bad divorce. At that time, things were pretty copacetic.
Yeah, banana bread for
We're
jibbers.
coming back to maybe you do know, or maybe you were involved.
Excuse me? What's the question that you're asking me?
I'm giving you a header of what we're talking about so that it will ease you in the question, okay? I'm just telling you what the topic that we're on, so we'll get to a question. Now, the government asked you about a time that you met Miss Magbanua.
And that thing about picking up the water bottle, right? offsetting the what is it? You know, that's a thing people do, isn't it? They'll pick something up. To kind of pause before they jump out of the witness box. Or they'll move their tongue around the corners of their mouth, you know, like with it inside their lips. People do that too. It's like putting the energy somewhere or something. Pick up the water bottle, take a sip, because you're so fucking angry right now.
It's actually spring break of March 2014, right?
I believe so.
You went down to Miami. You stayed with your brother Charles.
I went down to Fort Lauderdale after being in Immokalee and stayed with my brother.
You then went to Miami Beach to Yardbird and had dinner outside with your boyfriend at the time, or who you were dating, Jeffrey Lacasse. Katherine Magbanua was there, and your brother Charles Adelson, and you all ate outside, right?
We did.
And that's on Miami Beach, not in Fort Lauderdale.
Correct.
Now, just for context, Jeffrey Lacasse, he was also an FSU professor, not at the law school, but an FSU professor. Nice guy, right?
I don't think so now.
Mm-mm.
No. You deny.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's not too fond of you either, Cupcake. Okay, Python Cupcake.
Assuming that on July 13, 2014, you told Jeffrey Lacasse that Charles looked into hiring a hitman. You deny that, or you admit that?
I deny that.
And that you told him that Charles looked into hiring a hitman back in September of 2013.
That never happened.
Which would have been months before your brother even met Katherine Magbanua.
I don't remember when they met.
Letting you know the topic we're on, we're talking about you being involved. That same week, earlier in the week, you sent an email. We're talking about the week of the murder now, not spring break, the week of the murder, not Yardbird, the week of the murder. You sent an email to Jeffrey Lacasse saying that you wanted to break up, that you needed space, right?
I did.
Sent him a long email. Stay away. We're broken up. Right?
I did.
You knew that on July 18, 2014, Jeffrey Lacasse was leaving town to go on a trip, right?
I knew he was leaving at some point that week. I don't remember when.
You knew that he was leaving on the same day of the murder at the same exact time as the murder.
I don't think I did.
11 a.m. on July 18, 2014.
I don't think I knew when he was leaving town.
It's a good way to put the blame onto somebody else. You'd agree on that, right? If it happened, it would have been a good way to put the blame on somebody else.
I have no idea when he was going to leave town.
Your interview, July 18, 2014, you said, you know, my brother, he joked about hiring a hitman. Perhaps that was you just planting a seed to divert the attention of law enforcement away from you.
It was not.
Let's jump off topic right now and talk about your boys' names. That in the time after the murder, you changed their last names from Markel to Adelson, right?
A year later, yes.
Why?
I was scared
Of what?
of someone coming to attack them.
So it's a year later, you won't look at anything because you don't want to know what's going on in the case. And the thought is, well, they're going to be protected if they have my last name and not Markel, right?
Yes.
Now, years later, arrests are made. It's clear who committed the murder, Sigfredo Garcia, Luis Rivera. The Adelson name has been dragged through the mud.
It wasn't a reputable publisher, Michelle. I don't think it was self-published, though. And, you know, it's the copy I've got has got Florida State University logo on it. I mean, it was fully approved and vetted by a serious university, right? A major fucking university in America. Put their name on this shit, which, you know, How does that happen?
Why haven't you continued to protect your boys and changed the name back?
I will be changing. I'm not going to change the name back. I don't think that will help. One day I'll change all of our names.
To what?
The government asked you about immunity, so let's get into that. You explained that as an attorney, you understand that when the government gives a subpoena for somebody to testify, that it conveys immunity, right?
That's my understanding. My knowledge of criminal law dates back to 2003 when I took it.
We've got just over 4 minutes on our goal at the top of the chat, guys. If anyone wants to support our goal, or you could support the channel on buymeacoffee.com/True Crime Metrix. Remember to like the video, share, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel for our, what is it? Mythbuster series coming out soon on the Adelson case Mythbuster series.
Semester in law school, so forgive me.
Graduated law school, right?
This isn't my area of law.
When you clerked on the 11th Circuit, it was with Judge Jordan, right?
I did immigration appeals.
Yeah, but you still dealt with criminal stuff as well, too.
Very little.
So your understanding, though, is it doesn't mean they can't arrest you. They just can't use what you say here against you later on. So you're protected.
Correct.
And you needed that to testify, right?
It's just given to testify. It's not a question of whether I needed it. It comes with testifying.
You fear being charged by them, so you need to have that protection of
I
your
don't
words.
fear being charged for a crime I didn't commit, no.
Now, y'all had this nice exchange where it was pleasant, but there's actually tension between you and this office, right?
No.
They recently had your brother Charles Adelson arrested, and he's in custody, right?
Correct.
For first-degree murder.
Correct.
And there's no tension?
It's very uncomfortable to be here. It's hard to tell where the tension is coming from.
They've discussed your involvement in this case. They insinuated it on the direct examination. There's no tension?
Lots of media insinuates that I did something I didn't do too. I can't feel tension towards every person in the world.
That's funny. I thought you didn't look at anything.
I don't, that's why.
But you know that you know about the media, but you don't know about the media?
I know about the media because it keeps me from employment. It keeps me from lots of things in my life. I'm aware of what's there.
Yeah, and when I'm caught in a little lie, I'm going to start laughing again and smiling like a moron. Thank you so much, Molly, for the super chat and helping us with our goal at the top of the chat. 2 minutes, 45 seconds left, guys. Thank you so much, Molly.
I don't read the minutia so I can sleep at night.
Ms. Adelson, 5 minutes ago you said you don't look at any of that stuff.
I
Now
don't
I asked you a
look at
question.
it.
Let me finish.
Sure.
5 minutes ago you said
I don't read the minutia so I can sleep at night on a pile of Hispanic pool cleaning men. Getting passed around by Miguel and his cronies.
you don't look at any of that stuff. Now I ask you a question, you say you look at stuff.
That's not actually what I said. I said I'm aware that it exists, but I don't read it. I don't listen to it.
Then how do you know that they're bashing you?
You just told me they are.
I did?
Yeah.
How about this?
Yeah,
We'll come back.
you didn't catch me in a lie. It's funny, right? We're all laughing together. You just told me.
You can think up a better answer, okay?
I'm not thinking up an answer. I'm telling you the truth. I'm sorry if you don't want to listen to it.
Your basic understanding of criminal law, though, you know that if the defense gives you a subpoena, you get...
Thanks so much, Amy, for the super chat. 1 minute 34, guys. 1 minute 33. Ooh. Thanks, guys.
No,
Correction, improper question.
I'm not going beyond that question.
All right, that's the only question you can ask on that.
If I give you a subpoena, you don't get immunity, right?
Correct.
Let's talk about your parents. The government asked you about your mother and father, Donna and Harvey, right? The government could do the same and subpoena them so that this jury can watch them get questioned, not nicely how Ms. Kaplan questioned you, but to be cross-examined by me.
Objection.
Not nicely how Miss Kaplan questioned you, but to be cross-examined by me. I love that.
Proper question.
I'm going to sustain that. Ask it.
Thanks, Ryan. 43 seconds, guys, to help us out with our goal at the top of the chat. 39 seconds. You know?
Your question.
Are your parents here in Tallahassee right now?
No.
Are they back in Miami?
Yes.
Do they have any plans of coming here this week or next?
I don't think so.
No. Your family dynamic. It is your mother and father, Harvey and Donna. There's you, you're the youngest, Charles, and then the oldest, Robert. Right?
Correct.
And he's a doctor up in New York.
Correct.
Now, the government asked you about the relationship, and you're like, we don't talk much. It's actually much deeper than that with Robert, isn't it?
We don't talk
At all.
at all.
And the reason is because your parents were so difficult about the woman that is now his wife.
That is not the reason why we don't talk.
I'm not talking about the reason why you don't talk. Let me clarify the reason why your
Hey, thank you, Tay, for the super sticker. Beautiful.
parents don't talk to him.
That's not the reason why they don't talk with them.
Are you saying to this jury that there wasn't a problem where they outright objected to his marriage of a woman that was not of the Jewish faith?
That was initially what happened, and then there was actually a beautiful reconciliation, and they're very happy about the marriage.
Robert and his wife, not your family.
Robert and his wife and our family were very happy about Robert's marriage.
So what happens is that Robert is in love with a woman.
Yeah, but then Robert sussed out that it was us who did the murder and wants nothing to do with us ever again.
Your parents object. He breaks up with her and then dates a Jewish woman, right?
And then they got married and divorced, and then he got back together with the person he wanted to be married to. Yes.
With his true love.
Yes.
But there was a lot of tension in your family because of your family's involvement in the kids' marriages, right?
Yes.
Let's talk briefly about your children. The government had asked you, and the topic of the Jewish faith, keeping kosher. You mentioned a bat mitzvah at one point in time. You're currently planning a bat mitzvah for your oldest, right?
No, it already happened.
Okay, now that is a very, now, Christopher, I'm obviously not Jewish, but my understanding is that it is a very, very important thing in the Jewish faith.
It's a very important milestone.
And for those that are very conservative in the Jewish faith, those that keep kosher, so to speak, it's even bigger.
I don't know that it's more important to one segment
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'll spend it on conditioner.
of Judaism over another, but it's an important coming of age ceremony.
It's where a boy becomes a man. Did you invite Dan Markel's parents, the kid's grandparents?
I did.
You invited them.
I invited them, yes.
When was the last time they saw face-to-face their grandchildren?
April 20th,
Of this year?
just now.
And you agree with me
You
that
know when Charlie's on the stand and he has to recall a certain date of a wiretap, and he makes this joke like, oh, you know, it was 4:20. I mean, why would he do that? Why would he align himself with International Pot Smoking Day in his own murder trial? I mean, he's a fucking moron. Hey, thanks so much for the coffees, Riding Shotgun, on buymeacoffee.com. Thank you, Riding. Much appreciated.
had been years since 2016, since the last time they had seen them.
The visit stopped when they threatened to put my children in foster care, yes, but up until that point they did have visits.
You had no problem letting them see your brother Charles, right?
I'm sorry?
You have no problem letting them hang out with your brother Charles, who's now sitting in custody for first-degree murder.
Well, they can't see him now, can they?
No, they can't, but I'll ask the questions. For years, they weren't able to see their grandchildren despite their pleading to you to see them. But you let them, let me finish, but you let them hang out with your murdering brother, right?
The children were permitted to see their grandparents. I cooked for them. We had play dates. They had sleepovers. When a letter surfaced that they were trying to have my children placed in foster care, the visits stopped. My brother never threatened to put my children in foster care, and if he had, the visits would have stopped with him too.
You say you love your boys.
I do say I love my children.
don't care about the father that they love. What
I
happened?
never said that I don't care about the father that they
Then
love.
look at some of the discovery and help figure it out.
Excuse me?
Then look at some of the evidence and help.
She did. She said, oh, thank God it didn't happen to Jeff or someone else I actually care about. So,
Figure it out so that more lives aren't ruined by this.
Danny had so many enemies that it would be impossible to find out who did this. What? He's a fucking law professor at FSU with a Honda Accord. You know, that's it. Well, you know, Amy Adler, she's recently divorced. I don't know if you're looking for someone who's not too happy with Danny. I don't know what the situation is there. Fucking stupid bitch.
I seem to
Mr.
not
DeCoste,
understand.
you need to ask a question now. You're making statements now. You need to ask a question.
Understood, Your Honor. If I could have one brief second to check with Bill
Yeah, join us on Discord, guys. We got JC, come and join us on Discord. Paul M, join us on Discord. Link in the description. Stuff goes on all the time in there. Ideas, plans for the new shows, other stuff, discussions. Link in the description, or
Ms. Adelson,
I think right in chat.
started
Put it in the
this.
chat.
by saying that this is all about you. It started with you because of this marriage, right?
No.
Hey, the present is now. How you doing? Hi, y'all. Appreciate finding this channel, y'all. Sorry, am old, poor, bankless, can't send a coffee, but love this content so much. That's all right. The present is now. That's fine. It's all good. Welcome.
Well, you had tried to say that, but I don't agree.
Ms. Adelson, I'm going to make one final attempt through questions to implore you. You understand that you can't protect your brother Charles, who's going through this case, and protect yourself at the same time. You understand that, right?
I'm here to share the truth with you. I don't know how to answer the question.
Then please end the madness and share the truth. Will you please share the truth with this jury?
I've been sharing the
End
truth
the
since I
madness.
walked in here. I've done nothing but share the truth.
You know what happened here, despite your claims to the jury that you haven't looked at anything, you haven't discussed with anybody, and you haven't confronted your brother. You know what happened here, right?
I do not know what happened here, and if I did, I would have shared it with the police 8 years ago.
You know that your brother went behind your back, don't you?
I do not.
Like he always does. This is something that he has always done, isn't it?
Not.
You found out after that your brother had done this and gone behind your back. That's why you were thrown up at that dinner, right?
No, it's not.
You know that it didn't involve Katie either, right?
I don't know anything about
If you're not going to say all of that and finally give the truth, why don't you just admit to this jury that you're guilty?
because I'm not guilty.
Brief moment. I got nothing further.
Redirect.
Oh, we just got to do the redirect. We'll do the redirect and that'll be it for today, folks, because it's the last one that we've got prepped. Because we spent all day doing our Donna in the van video. Maybe we should watch a little bit of that. Just the beginning. How about it? It's a really short redirect. It's only 4 minutes.
You were asked about the reason why you stopped contact for a period of time between your ex-husband's parents and your children.
Yes.
And you referenced a letter that you characterized as the grandparents threatening to put the children into foster care. Is that an email that was sent from the Markels, to my office?
Yes.
Okay. And that was in reference to, in the event that you and the people that care for these children, who at the time were very young, were arrested that the grandparents wanted to make sure, because they live in Canada, right?
They do.
They wanted to make sure that a specific organization could be contacted to care for the children, so that someone was there to care for them until a relative could get there.
I don't
Right?
remember the bit about a relative getting there.
Okay, well, they weren't just going to leave them in foster care, right?
I don't know.
Okay. But the specific nature of the email, you will agree, was in the event that there's some kind of mass arrest, because they don't know who's getting ready to go to jail next, right? I mean, they're not privy to the investigation any more than you are, right? Law enforcement investigations, they're secret.
Sure.
Okay. And their concern, would you agree the concern ultimately in the email was for the care of the children?
The concern was to make sure the children were under good care, but as their mother, I know they're always under good care with me.
Right, but
And there's no
the
need for
email
foster care.
contemplated you not being available to care for them.
That's not possible.
Because it's not possible for you to get arrested.
Correct. Because I've done nothing wrong and I believe in our justice system.
Okay. Well, just wanted to clarify the nature of that. In this,
So by definition, what she just said means that she believes Charlie is guilty. Right? She believes it's not possible for someone to get arrested for a crime they didn't commit because she believes in the justice system. But Charlie has been arrested and is charged with the first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to commit murder of Professor Markel. I mean, she's really hung him out to dry on purpose.
case, you were asked about, why aren't your parents coming to testify? You, as you mentioned, gave a police interview in this case, right?
Correct.
And consented to the search of your phone, etc. You gave testimony in this case, right?
Yes.
All right. And your parents did not, correct?
They did not give testimony.
They have not testified. They
They've
have
not been
not
asked
given a
to
police...
come testify, but they would if they were asked.
Okay. And have they given any police interviews?
They would have, but the police never contacted them.
The police did contact them, didn't they? And they refused.
No,
Are they represented by counsel?
they are represented by counsel.
And they'll come testify if we want.
If they are under state subpoena, just like I was, they would come testify.
All right. And do you know what they would testify to?
They would testify to whatever they know.
And do you know what they know?
I have no idea what they know.
They've never told you.
No,
You've never asked them.
no.
Because you've never had any conversations with them about this murder.
I've been advised by my counsel not to.
All right. So nobody, including your brother Charlie, has admitted or denied to you any involvement in the murder one way or the other.
Correct.
Same with your parents.
Correct.
One moment, please.
Okay.
Nothing further on it.
You want her subject to recall?
No, sir. She's free to go about her business.
All right, she's free to go. Thank you.
Okay, let's watch a tiny little bit about the Donna in the van. Just up until Rashbaum. I don't want to get too heavy into it because we should do our own commentary on the full thing later, another day.
When you do it, just make sure you strap into one.
Well, thank you, Carla York, for the super chat. Wonderful. Much appreciated, Carla York. just got to see some rash bound before we go.
My glasses up a little of my nose.
I know.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Jesus Christ, what are you doing? Huh? I'm finna go get Craig so we can go get this Adelson lady from Miami.
Yeah, I just got my agent.
Sorry about that.
No, sorry.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Sorry about that, Sarge.
You're all right,
But
man.
we're finna get out of here. We got Dade County. The mother, Adelson. The last piece of the puzzle.
Puzzle pieces, puzzle pieces, puzzle pieces, puzzle pieces, puzzle pieces. Puzzles don't fit. Pieces of the puzzle don't fit. Puzzle pieces.
Puzzle pieces.
Yes. She's coming back with us.
Was it too much putting the heart around Judge Everett's face? Alright, we'll just watch her get in the van and then we're going. You can check out the full thing on our channel page with no commentary. These are the nicest deputies in history.
Alright.
Love the haters. It's good advice. Love the haters. Love them so much that their hate turns to fear.
Alright, come on up. Watch your step getting on this van. Take your time. I got you. Well, there you go. I got you. Step right there, and there you go. Take your time. Watch your head, watch your step. Good? Yeah? Alright. Wherever you sit.
Wherever you want to sit now.
You got 8 seat belts on this van. Strap into any one of them. Alright? I don't care which one you do it. Just make sure you strap into one. Pick any one. If it's that one, it's going to be on the other side. Look to your right. There you go.
See, she's fine here. She's been in there 7 days. No complaints. We're going to leave it there, guys. But there it is, Michelle, on our channel page. That's the thumbnail. I'd like some drugs now, please. I bet she would, huh? God, just hearing a bottle of pills rattling would be enough to calm her down, I think. Rattling like a maraca of benzodiazepines. Anyway, listen, we should go. We should leave you all. And we'll be back. When will we be back? Maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, I don't know. We've got a bunch of on-demand content to get out. The weekend. I think we're going to do commentary on the Donna video on Sunday, but it's not very long. It's only half an hour long. So maybe we can mix it up with some other stuff. Let's just see what happens. Yeah, we'll probably be back on live tomorrow, guys. A little bit earlier, maybe. For Saturday's streams. And then Sunday Fun Day. Thank you so much to everyone in chat. Thank you so much to everyone not in chat. To super supporters, super stickers. Everybody who supports the channel, couldn't appreciate you more, guys. And of course, all the fantastic moderators, the best moderators around. Appreciate you guys. Yeah. slowly working our way through this Katie's retrial. We've got Jeff Lacasse next. I know that we just covered him, but I'm committed to going through each and every portion of the Katie 2 trial, because it just gives us so much context, you know. That's how we've got this list of Mythbuster episodes coming out soon on our channel page, where we break down things that people believe and things that have become almost accepted facts because they're discussed so much that no one even questions them anymore. We are going to be questioning them, and we're going to be putting forward some evidence that may disprove the assertions that are common and out there and that people talk about all the time. Because I think there's too much of it, you know. Some of the stuff really are just coincidences. There's so many coincidences in this case that are fake coincidences from liars that I think there's a common thread that people assume that there are no actual coincidences, that if it's even a little bit like a coincidence, it must be a conspiracy and a lie. And that's just not how the world works. Probability. Beat the odds. We're going to be beating the odds on Metrix soon with our concept videos, Mythbusters. Subscribe to the channel. Come and check that out because it's going to be fucking brilliant. Okay? We're going to say good night to everyone right now, and we will see you tomorrow. And keep an eye out on our channel page because there's some other stuff coming out soon as well. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll catch you soon. Adios. Oh, that's the wrong one. This one. True Crime Metrix out.